This is Jordan Neighbors, wide open field in front of him, marches in for the score.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Pratt looking, end zone, touchdown, Tulane. Shea Watt, a 20-yard touchdown reception.
The Sikkim 365 Radio Friday show is brought to you by Bird Culchin Ford.
Winston hit as he throws, and another interception. And guess who? It's Barrett again. And this time, Barrett takes it in for the score.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Young steps up in the pocket and delivers a late throw into the end zone. Bad decision. Intercepted. Jared Bernard Converse.
Sikkim 365 Radio is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Nix, seam, caught, diving in for a touchdown, Maliki Matavau.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
3rd and goal. Play action, Travis. And he gets it to Lundy for the touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Well, it is Friday. It is Friday. It is Veterans Day. And we honor those who have served our country. And we will have, in fact, Staff Sergeant Tyler Hazenga on from the U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company. He is the company commander. He'll join us today in the 3 o'clock segment for that, plus much more to get to as well. For those who watch or listen to us, thank you, all of you, any of you who have served our country on this Veterans Day. Also, Grayson Grundhoefer, Taylor McHargue, they'll both talk college football. Former Baylor quarterback Seth Russell talking college football, as will Sam Bradshaw. A lot to get to tonight. And our college picks today, just after 4 o'clock. Bangers in the Big 12 and also top 25. College football injury update or two, and a note or two about Baylor fans, in my opinion, that just need to take a deep breath, relax, and enjoy where they are and what they have coming up this weekend. Paul Catalina, Veterans Day. Your father served. My father served. A lot of people in the family served. Craig's both sides of the family served.
My granddad was retired Air Force. I got to go to the O Club at Bergstrom a lot of time before that was an airport growing up when it was still the base. And, you know, I grew up. The other thing was when I was, between the ages of 6 and 11, I lived in Bossier City, Louisiana, where Barksdale Air Force Base is. And so I spent a lot of time just playing with my friends on Barksdale Air Force Base and going there for quite a bit of things because a lot of my friends had parents that were, in the Air Force. And it was, so I've always grown up around it. My dad, and I'll say this right now at the beginning of the show, he died in 2015, but he would have died probably in 2010 or before had it not been for the VA here in Waco and the help he got for his PTSD after 35, 40 years after Vietnam and the things he was going through. And so if you're a veteran and you're going through those things, there's help, and you can change your life no matter how long it's been. And so I'm forever grateful to him and to the VA and for those 5 extra years we probably got with him, if not more.
We had Rocky Bleier, former Steelers running back, a part of those 4 Super Bowls on earlier this week. He, of course, had his foot almost all but blown off, serving our country during the Vietnam War, and also eventually was told, he was told he's never going to play football again. That was not true. He was able to find a way to play as well. Let's see here. And so Staff Sergeant Hazenga will join us today at around 3:30 today. All right, let's get to Big 12. We're going to have our predictions in a minute. This is so set up for what is going to be, you see these separation Saturdays at ESPN or NFL, Fox, whatever. I think the Big 12, it doesn't mean separation, but it surely, as heck, Craig, it can with Texas hosting TCU. TCU can get yet another game on them, and whoever loses Baylor and Kansas State. And then, of course, Baylor, Kansas State, and all but what looks like basically an elimination game.
No, these are absolutely eliminating. I mean, these are absolutely those types of games. I mean, let's be very clear. That's not kind of what it is. That's what this is. I mean, tomorrow, Kansas State and Baylor, whoever loses that game is all but, probably toast. Kansas is still alive, but they lose tomorrow, they're done. I mean, Texas, TCU. TCU, they lose. Hey, it gets a little bit more interesting because there's still a 3-ish team race, but if they beat Texas, they're in. So this is a separation weekend. TCU wins, they are in, and depending on Baylor, K-State, that team's out. Texas, I think, would still – I'd have to think about all the scenarios in my head, but yeah, I mean, there's not going to be 4 teams probably still standing tomorrow. There's going to be 3-ish, and 2 games to go. That's going to be really interesting, especially with Baylor having this golden opportunity if they play all 3 of the teams. I mean, they went out, they're in. That's a clear path for them. If they lose to Kansas State tomorrow, I mean, in theory, they could beat TCU and Texas, but then you're having to go, okay, well, what did Kansas State do? You have to start looking around at results. So in terms of just having your destiny in front of you, all 4 Big 12 teams on top have that in front of them, 3 of the 4 teams on top have that in front of them. Kansas State has to win out and get help, but TCU wins out, they're in. Texas wins out, they're in. Baylor wins out, they're in. So, yeah, there's going to be some separation tomorrow. Just which direction it goes is the question mark.
Well, and, yeah, if you're a 6-3 team, no matter who you are right now, or a 3-loss team in the Big 12, if those 3 losses are in the Big 12, then you are you don't want to see, the L tomorrow because, again, there would be potentially a path for you, but the math you'd have to do in your head for it to happen and the hope would be – would not be worth it to sit around and wait. So, yeah, you've got to, again, Baylor's got it perfectly ahead of them. Just winning their in. Texas, same thing, just winning their in. TCU has to win 1 of their next 3, and they're in the Big 12 title game. Now, the pressure is probably up on them a little bit more because, they are in a position now where if they continue to win, if they win out, which would be the next 4 games, including the title game, they're going to be in the CFP. But you can't really get to that point, but you got to start feeling it, I would think, if you're TCU, you're human beings, knowing that there's potential to have a program-changing season right now.
Yeah, there's no doubt they have to be aware of that. Just to what level it bothers them or, infiltrates their mindset is the question mark. But I don't know. I think TCU's been pretty good about going week to week, although not very good about, doing it easily, which, hey, that's just a testament to how tough the league is that every week's a battle. But I mean, yeah, it's going to be interesting. TCU's, they can lose tomorrow and still be fine because they're 2 games above everybody else. So they're the only one not facing elimination tomorrow, but the elimination they are facing is the college football playoff. If they lose to Texas, they're done, but they'd still have the opportunity to face them in a rematch a couple of weeks down the road, depending on what else happens. But, yeah, I mean, Baylor, Texas, and TCU TCU is the one that's got some room to wiggle, except for with the CFP. But all 3 of those teams, have their destiny in their hands. And Kansas State, like I said, they're the one, along with Kansas, that has to win out, get some help. And, just looking at the various schedules, the way it fell for Baylor really is amazing. Like, you could not have drawn up a better 3-week close to the season where you face every single team that's in your way as far as potentially getting to Arlington. And who you'd probably face again. You're going to face one of either a TCU or Texas most likely in the rematch. But you got to win tomorrow, and that's anything but a guarantee. Anything but a guarantee.
Well, I'm excited about it, and I'm excited because that's not the only game. You have the Alabama and Ole Miss game that if you want to stay alive in the West, which LSU has in a chokehold despite the loss to Tennessee, that's a game that, again, the loser pretty much is done when it comes to the West. TCU is up 2 games. That's what happens when you run the table. 9-0, 6-0 in the conference, up 2 on both Texas and Baylor and Kansas State. So, again, Baylor, Kansas State, if TCU wins, Baylor, Kansas State losers eliminated. They're done. They'd be 3 back as far as any chance to be the number 1 seed, but pretty much done for the others as well. If Texas wins tomorrow, and then all of a sudden they're just a game back of TCU, and the winner of Baylor, Kansas State is just a game back of TCU. If Baylor runs the table, they're going to play in the Big 12 championship game. And yes, Kansas and Oklahoma State are still there trying to get themselves involved with that. We talk about bangers. Those are 2 bangers. National implications because of TCU where they are, and also other schools that are trying to at least get themselves as high up the food chain as they possibly can be. Here's a note. Garrett, do you have the note about Texas and this weekend? It's very small, but I'll read it to you. 18th ranked Texas is a 7-point favorite against 4th ranked TCU. It's not a surprise. The most points the Horns have been favored over a top 5 team since 1978 when the FBS and FCS split from what was called Division I. That's hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine that is the first time, because they had that great run under Mac Brown, that there wasn't a top 5 team that they were still favored by a lot. So there's one thing. Also, Steve Sarkisian this week. We haven't beaten a top 5 team here at DK Royal Memorial Stadium since 1999. It's a great opportunity for us to hopefully prepare well, play well for our fans. I'm looking forward to an electric and great intimidating environment. Since 1999, that they haven't beaten a top 5 team at home.
How many top 5 teams are rolling into DKR, though?
Well, there have been some decent there's been some, but not top 5.
Top 5.
They're not going to play Oklahoma there, so that eliminates at least
that's every year
what would be 30 of those opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Kansas State, Nebraska. Nebraska after that, no.
So it's not really that. If you eliminate Oklahoma, then that's like 20 of the 30 opportunities that you're probably thinking of right there.
Yeah, and
that's not only hosting somebody that's top 5, beating them. At DK.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a lot of little measures to subtract.
That's when the Mac Brown run began. That's when they really started to be unbelievable.
But yeah, even if you go and say A&M's been in the top 5 a few times, never when they played Texas.
No.
By November 25th every year, believe me, they're long gone out of the top 5. So yeah, there's,
and I think that's important for their program because of what this says, and obviously that. In the past, the loss to Tech or the loss to Oklahoma State might have sent them into a spiral, and that has not been the case after they won their last game. Again, that's about the time you start buying them is about the time that you go bankrupt, right? Paxton and C. Jenkins, those of you who are on the board who are Texas fans, and that's just true. That's not trying to be negative. Now,
no, that's just facts.
Yeah.
That they typically get built up only to fall down. And, that's not their overall history as a program, but that is their recent history. Absolutely it is. And, that's why they've, had stumbles along the way that's kind of kept them in that same area rather than eventually rising and staying up where they would like to be, is because, it gets built up like, oh my gosh, they're back. And then boom, reality sets in and they tumble down a little bit more to the mean. So, tomorrow is a great opportunity for them. I think a lot of people have Texas picked. They're favored by a touchdown, as you mentioned, which is, I think pretty significant that's how it's being viewed. I mean, all due respect to Texas, but, golly, unbeaten TCU top 5, and they're walking into your place. I get you have the advantage there by touchdown favorites. So, I was very surprised to see that earlier this week, and we'll see. It's a huge game, big time promotions for this one, college game day, all that jazz. Big win last week to really build this thing up and have the opportunity to host game day and do all of that. So it's going to be a big one tomorrow in Austin.
Alabama was like number 1 in the country, but they didn't win the game. We're not saying they haven't hosted a game at DK Royal Memorial Stadium. We're saying they haven't beaten a top 5 team at DK Royal Memorial Stadium. And believe me, they won games at home against Nebraska back before that. And they used to, they handled the Huskers. They also have won other games, but they haven't won a game against a top 5 team. Alabama was 1 or number 2, whatever it was, in week number 2, but week 2, C. Jenkins 313, but they didn't win that game. So that's what he's talking about, beating. From Daniel, the DKR crowd has been rowdy as hell lately. See you there. Hook 'em. So there's that from you. And also from Stephen Rose, this will be an exciting week of college football as well. And Quirte, not many top 5 teams play at DKR. OU, if they have played there, of course, as Craig mentioned, would have been top 5 a lot of times since those 30 years that we're talking about.
Think about how many Big 12 teams have been top 5 that aren't Oklahoma or Texas. They have to really grind to get to. Baylor's had some really good teams and hardly sniffed the top 5.
Yeah, Nebraska,
really good teams.
Nebraska, but again, this is before that 99 timeline, although they were number 1 in the country in 2001.
Yeah. Until they, Kansas has never been.
Kansas State probably has maybe been in that mix a little bit. But you're right, yeah.
But even the 08 year with Kansas, when they went to the Orange Bowl, were they in the top 5?
07. It was 08.
07, yeah. So even the year that they went to the Orange Bowl, were they in the top 5? No.
Tech wasn't the year that they had the Crabtree touchdown. That was in Lubbock. Tech was in
they lost. And it was in Lubbock, so it has nothing to do. Yeah, I know what you're saying, though. That was their best team, and they weren't ever. But yeah, I mean, the stat's the stat. It is what it is. We don't need to explain it further. But yeah, they haven't done it since 99, and tomorrow they've got a chance to do it. And if they do, then they'll probably end up in the top 10 of the CFP somehow or another, because we know how that kind of goes. And hey, given their schedule and who they've lost to, I mean, there would be no arguing that they're the top 3 loss team in the country, and they would be feeling great about life, and I think rightfully so, because given how the feelings were, is the kind of roller coaster that it's been, feelings coming out of that Oklahoma State game, for example, and just kind of the Quinn Ewers getting hurt along the way, all the just kind of up and downs that there have been. I mean, to find themselves 2 weeks to go, huge top 5 win at home, beating an unbeaten, and positioning yourself to basically have to fall on your face to not make the Big 12 title game, that would be huge for them and huge for Sark and huge for everything that they're trying to do there. So, yeah, again, it's a huge game tomorrow in Austin.
All right, I wrote this on the site, and I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's too long. But my bottom line, I wrote something on the site earlier today. Maybe it's me, but can we focus all of the attention on Saturday at 6 o'clock? The whole point of this is, I have other than we covered Baylor, yes, when you cover a team, you'd love to see them have great success. It is very good. Sometimes you get more clicks and views and attention because the team is so bad there's a coaching change, and Baylor has been through that as well. But one of the things I've noticed, and it's not just this week, and obviously the blackout that the fans led, and then also the tickets thanks to Todd Behringer and much more. But I have noticed this, and I'm not saying Baylor's fan base is the only one. This is not a bitch session. This is me just being honest as somebody who has covered them and looked at them as well from not so much afar, but right here in the middle of it. And Paul Craig can chime in on this and say whatever you want. But, my God, there's so much time and effort and energy spent on, what are they going to do on game day? Yes, I understand the music and the atmosphere. It does need to get better. And who knows? I understand as well that the tailgating, I also understand every fan base has their own message boards that they bitch and moan about the same things over and over again. But even after you wanted this game to be somewhat of a blackout, and you wanted this game to be a full throttle, let's go, there's still this who gets credit for it? Who cares? It's the fact that they've sold these tickets and there's going to be whatever blackout for some and maybe others no. I don't understand whether it's constantly all the way up until even today where who gets credit? Who cares? The fact is that should be sold out. Hopefully people go. It's great football weather. It's easy for me to say I'm in the press box covered up, but I just see that a lot. And I'm not saying Baylor's the only fan base, but it does seem like the little things get a lot of attention instead of, hey, it's a great football game to be played tomorrow night at 6 o'clock.
I'll say on the music thing, I don't know that people are still complaining about that. I thought the DJ has been pretty good. I think he's been great, actually, compared to what they've had. Others can disagree, but I think he's brought some new energy, some actually new music. and some kind of attitude. The problem is that he and the band seem to fight during games, which, you know, the band after like one game seemed to get offended that, oh, we're being drowned out or whatever. And so that's something I picked up on like week 2 and haven't really paid attention to since. But as far as all the rest of that, like you're talking about people burning energy, you're burning too much energy on it. I understand where you're coming from, but I mean, this is like a thing to me where I just simply, I don't even know where the whole credit thing you're talking about is coming from because I haven't paid much attention to the threads on that. I think that's all silly. There's a really good football team rolling into town, to your point, and there's a football game, and that's really all my focus is on. And I think that's where everybody's focus should be on, as you're saying, and all this other silly little Sunday school fighting or, you know, whatever you want to call it or compare it to, because I know that's kind of a comparison that's made sometimes is like the Baptist fighting, you know, kind of deal, fighting over every piece of credit or every, like, I don't know if it's that or what, but yeah, I'm locked in on the game. I think all of the other stuff is silly as all get out. I said in my prediction that I hope the team's more focused on, you know, the opponent than the crowd or the blackout or the uniforms or all the other things we've heard about. I mean, as far as all that goes, I had people, you know, retweet. I don't care. I do not care what uniforms they wear. I don't care where the music's coming from. I don't care if there's 5 people in the crowd. All I care about tomorrow is seeing this Baylor football team who's been through it go out there and put on their best showing. And if they do that, I'll walk away happy, even if it's in defeat, because Kansas State just happens to be a better team. And I know that's not the point of your deal, but
that's exactly my point.
But I just totally,
that's what my point was.
I totally shy away from all that. I don't go dive into it like you do in the deep end and get involved in it. I see that and I turn the other direction because it's all just silly to me.
For me, when it comes to a game, I'll say this. I look at it like any kind of big event you're going to go to. Like, tell me what the 2 things I'm watching for a game is. Is it a vital game? Yes. Is it 2 really good teams? Yes. All that other stuff, you know, can be an adventure if you make it. For example, if I was going to a concert and you told me it's Elton John and Billy Joel, and they told me, like, well, what kind of shirts are we going to wear? I'm like, I don't give a crap. No. Like, it's Elton John and Billy Joel. Let's go.
Wear. Yeah.
Yeah, but where's your seat? Yeah. What, you know, what's this? What kind of hamburgers are they serving?
Yeah.
Like, that's the kind of
stuff.
They're
not cheeseburgers. They're not plain and dry.
Yeah.
Memphis beat Tulsa last night, 26-14, and also Louisiana beat Georgia Southern 36-17. There's been a lot of games already played. Tonight, USC. And they're home against Colorado, also East Carolina at Cincinnati tonight, and then Fresno State plays at UNLV tonight. In that USC game, Jordan Addison expected to play. That's according to Lincoln Riley. He has missed the past couple of games with an unspecified lower body injury. Gloria Nevarez is the new commissioner effective January 1st of the Mountain West. She's been a part of the West Coast Conference.
She was apparently up for the Pac-12 job as well.
Replacing Craig Thompson, who's, of course, been a staple of college football and athletics.
Was on our show right after he said he was walking away. So, but Gloria Nevarez is a big get for the Mountain West, and she's a rising star in athletics administration for sure.
One recruiting note, Jaden Rashada, the number 7 rated quarterback in the 2023 class, according to ESPN, announced that he is backing out of his commitment to the University of Miami and has now committed to the Florida Gators.
Yeah, I think that the loss they suffered last week is going to, you know, the talk about it was like, oh, can FSU steal any recruits? It's going to be how many people do. And Jaden Rashada was I don't know if he was the complete jewel of that class because Miami just stole Cormani McClain away from Florida a couple of weeks ago, but
maybe that's where Rashada's money went.
Yeah. So maybe so. That's a good point. But yeah, Jaden Rashada on his way to Florida now, and you know that. But I do think that 45-3 is going to hang over them for a couple of weeks until Mario Cristobal can kind of at least write the messaging to the recruits.
Wasn't this Life Wallet guy? Or one of them?
Yeah.
That we spent like last summer talked about for like a 5-minute segment or something.
Yeah.
Talked about Life Wallet guy whose name I've forgotten intentionally as much as anything else. Yeah, that's a loss, but yeah, it's not surprised that Miami's, you know, going to lose a guy here and there because of what Paul mentioned. I mean, they're not a very good football team. And there's not like these signs that like they're going to be great anytime soon either. They're just not very good this year. I know Cristobal's having to kind of make this thing over, but for all of the arrogance, let's call it what it is, this offseason about that program and from their fan base and the NIL deals they were swinging, and Mario was back in Miami and all that kind of stuff. Like, I know that's the fun of the offseason, and I don't blame Miami fans or think any less of them for that. But, you know, if you serve all that out and you say all those things and you brag the way that you do, well, then there's actually games played and results that happen. And so they had their fun, like a lot of fan bases do, talking that noise during the offseason when they were, you know, able to not take any losses other than maybe a recruit choosing somewhere else. But on the field, it's been a different story. And, you know, it's hard to know even in recruiting these days what's actually the Miami-Florida result having an impact, and what's the Miami-Florida result plus whatever Florida offered plus whatever, you know. And so I don't know what to really make of his decision. I'm sure, though, that result played into it, obviously, as the Florida schools now start to kind of battle for territory once again. But, yeah, this was a big NIL thing for a moment, and this is the direction that it can go. And so one day's celebration is, you know, a few months later, another day's disappointment. And then I guess that's what Rashada is for Miami.
Okay, good stuff to start this off. Hope you've enjoyed it. Didn't have to agree with everything we're saying. We're on the chat room. Here we go. A lot of you on the games tomorrow, including K-State in Waco against Baylor, 6 o'clock, Texas and TCU, the game in Austin. A lot of great feedback, a lot of opinions on that. Garrett Ross runs the mothership. Jack McKenzie's here today. Emory Winter is back. We lost him for a couple of days, but he's back. And good to have Emory back. We miss him. He never says anything when he's here, but he's here, and it's a safety blanket. It's a security blanket. We appreciate Emory for being back today. I'm sure that Levi is somewhere, Lord knows where, maybe gambling somewhere. And then also Jacob Wilson, who yesterday, as a part of the U.S. Marine Corps, celebrated their birthday of the U.S. Marine Corps. Today, we celebrate Veterans Day, and coming up, Staff Sergeant Tyler Hazenga of the Waco Recruiting Company. He's their commander. He will join us on Veterans Day, what it means, what all it means in many ways. And also for those of you who served, who are watching on the chat room, in the chat room, we'd love to hear your experiences of when you served as well and where. This is 365 Sports. PettyClinicLowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be by finding out what could be wrong with you and if that is, in fact, testosterone levels that have dropped. 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. That could be ED or sex drive. It could be your energy just doesn't seem to be what it's been before. And then, of course, also even your sleep habits. Just something's wrong. Well, go to PettyClinicLowT.com online, find the email and our phone number. Tell them I sent you, and Dr. Petty and his staff will set you up, take care of the appointment for you. Set it up. You go get your blood drawn. He gets the results. He looks through whatever you have as far as the blood results, and that if your testosterone level is too low, he could put you in a program to increase it. So hopefully get you back to being the man you used to be, the man you want to be, the man you need to be. PettyClinicLowT.com.
During Jeep Adventure Days, Allen Samuels in Waco is celebrating with an incredible lineup of 2022 models like the Grand Cherokee L, Renegade, Wrangler, and the Wrangler 4xe. These vehicles bring power to plow through any obstacles or the smooth, peaceful ride you'd expect from a Jeep. Jeep SUVs are also known for their design and technology. The Grand Cherokee L even brings you extended seating with a third row. Come see what Allen Samuels can offer you and your family and find the Jeep SUV that fits your lifestyle.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Chuck Verno, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Chuck Verno, 720 North 64th Street in Waco, 254-732-1161. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your home for holiday favorites for parties or time with the family, with various specials available while supplies last in store or ordering by phone, including 8 to 10 pound half spiral hams at $4.15 a pound, 12-pound pit hams at $4.35 a pound, 8 to 22-pound bone-in hams for $3.40 a pound, 14 to 16-pound whole raw turkeys at $2.85 a pound, and $4.80 a pound for 9 to 12-pound whole smoked turkeys, 6 to 8-pound mini pit hams for $5.99 a pound. Limit 4 of each item per customer. Call in advance to ensure availability or drop by Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. Waco Custom Marketplace, your full-service butcher shop for customized orders or cuts of your favorite steaks or beef tenderloin or specially ordered prime rib roast. WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Yeah, Scotty B, by the way, remind you, that game tonight is at UCF is in Tulane. That's another game, of course, coming up on the schedule as well, as far as college football that's happening this weekend. And also that game is tomorrow. That's I mentioned, Scotty B, tonight's games. I did not mention Tulane UCF, but that is tomorrow. We're now joined by Staff Sergeant Hazenga, Tyler Hazenga. He is part of the Waco recruiting company. He's the station manager, and he joins us on 365 Sports. Paul, Catalina, Craig, and David Smoak. And Staff Sergeant Hazenga, thanks for your time. What does Veterans Day mean to you?
Well, actually, I can tell you a couple ways that it means to me. I have plenty of veterans within my family. My mother-in-law served. My mom actually served. A couple of my grandfathers also served. So Veterans Day is definitely important to me. It really sets the tone because it shows that this is basically the foundation for us that are serving right now. And also for me, a lot of my veteran buddies are the ones that actually brought me up within, the Army and the military in general, because it made me the person that I am today within the Army and the leader that I am. So I definitely appreciate them.
Tyler, how much did talking to veterans help you in your early days in the Army?
Honestly, it helped me actually grow up because I was able to, learn from them and actually have them show me, all right, well, you need to be able to do it like this, but I'm going to let you fall and then I'm going to bring you back up and go ahead and teach you how to do it properly. And actually one of my old supervisors, he actually showed me that it was okay for me to accept me as a leader and not to be scared to take charge of something, within my career.
Staff Sergeant, like you mentioned, people have family ties, and that's what eventually, leads them to the military service or whatever it may be. What exactly was your story? How did your journey get started?
So actually, it didn't get started based off of, me wanting to join or anything or to serve the country. To be honest with you, it was, I was caught in a bind. So, I've always wanted to be a chef. I wanted to go to culinary school. My parents, they didn't really have the money to send me. I wasn't getting very many college scholarships or grants. So, my junior year in high school, I saw a Marine recruiter right across the street. I talked to him for a little bit. Then I went home. I told my mom I'm going to join the Marines. She said, no, you're not. And then she actually had an Army recruiter sitting at the table the next day. I sat down with him. I told him what I wanted. He gave it to me. I joined as a culinary specialist. And then, as I went on, I started getting my certifications as an executive chef. And then once I get out, I'm going to use the GI Bill to open up my own food truck and then possibly open up my own restaurant.
Ooh. That is awesome. Paul and I, we like to dabble with cooking and whatever else. I watch the Food Network probably more than I need to. And did you also do a lot of that when you were serving in Afghanistan?
Yes, sir. Actually, I did. That's all I did. Actually, every kitchen that I had actually worked in, I had to build from the ground up because, working with special forces and stuff like that, we didn't start out with too much. So I actually had to build my kitchen from the ground up. But, it definitely taught me, to appreciate what I had and, what I was able to work with and the little stuff that I was working with. I mean, in one of my deployments, I actually was working off of a little stove. And then for Thanksgiving, I actually had General Petraeus come out to my fire base. Wow. And I actually had to build a mud oven with bricks. And then I had to cook all my stuff within that oven. And I had a grill to work off of. So I actually had to put the pot on top of there to deep fry the turkey.
Man, that's a high-pressure meal for the head of the Joint Chiefs. That is... I can't imagine a more high-pressure cooking situation.
Absolutely. And it was interesting because, he actually, when we went all to sit down and, I was getting ready to serve the meal and everything, he actually told me, he said, no, I need you to go sit down so that way I can serve you because, you've made this great meal and I want to make sure that you understand that, we appreciate what you did for us.
It was Armistice Day and then changed Veterans Day back in 1954. And that was from the urging of a major U.S. veteran organizations around the country. It just seems like we sometimes forget that there are men, women serving in a lot of different places even now. You don't hear about it as much, but even now with trying to protect our freedom, but also, right, Staff Sergeant, the rights and democracy or the freedom of others.
Yes, sir. Definitely. And actually also I wanted to touch on, the people that are actually serving for the community as well. My mother-in-law, she's actually in charge of one of the VFWs, in San Diego. And so, she definitely takes care of quite a few veterans and she's able to have a safe place for them to actually go, to be able to sit down and hang out with each other and, reconnect with each other. And they're able to go over stories and everything. And every time I go back to San Diego, I love, sitting down with them and talking with them and having, having a drink with them and talking to them about their stories and everything else that they had going
on. Guy Kizzy, Captain Kizzy's the one who's the U.S. Army Waco recruiting company commander. He's the one that suggested you got in touch with me as well. Tell us a little bit, and we've had others who have been in here. Clancy has been in here. Clary, has been in here to discuss the U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company and what you do and what's available right now.
Yes, sir. So actually, I'm the Waco recruiting station commander. So I have 9 of my guys under me, and then I have over 4,000 square miles that I cover, 39 high schools and 3 colleges. All within, Waco and then outside just a little bit. But, what we try to do is we're trying to do multiple things. So we're trying to reach out to the community. We're trying to make sure that, they understand that we're here for them. Also, when we talk to you about, the jobs and the MOSs that we talk about, it's all different types. We can get you the certifications that you need to be able to do bigger and better things. Like for me, I wanted to be executive chef. I got my executive chef, right? And I didn't have to pay a dime. Where culinary school would cost about, I'd say, $300,000 to $400,000 just to be able to become a master chef and be able to put all the time and effort into it, but also using those certifications on the outside, as far as trades, right? So we have trades, we have, mechanics, we have welders, different things like that. Also, with aviation, we definitely have a lot of aviation around this area. They can come back and do that as well. And they can be part-time, 1 week in a month, 2 weeks out of summertime. It really isn't that difficult. You just got to want it. You got to understand that you have to want something bigger and better. And I was actually watching, what Sergeant Clary had, on his interview. And honestly, he was spot on. There's nothing that you can possibly do better than to get up and out of your small town or your big city and go explore, go out and see the world, because that's how you are actually building your culture. That's how you understand the world is a better place outside and in.
Staff Sergeant, we appreciate you, man, for serving our country on our chat room. Devil Dog talked about how he was a part of the U.S. Marine Corps. We have people, see clear, saying all veterans appreciate your service in here, including you especially. And others are saying thank you to anybody, U.S. military, for what you do, what you've done, and also what, of course, it means to our country. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Staff Sergeant Tyler Hazenga, from the Waco Recruiting Company, station commander. Kai Kizzy, the captain, is the Waco Recruiting Company's commander. And he, of course, was back earlier this year, right before, I think maybe the start of football season, when we had him on to discuss what he's done and what they're doing as well. All right, when we come back, we will hear from Grayson Grundhoefer on many things Baylor. How many and what's the list of people coming to Waco for the game between Baylor and Kansas State as far as prospects or commits and the game itself. And this is 365 Sports. Holiday season, 2 weeks from yesterday is Thanksgiving. And then, of course, there are parties that you might throw at your house or businesses, wherever it is, and then Christmas and New Year's. And right now, our good friends at Waco Custom Marketplace, Brian Bauer and the Bauer family. Here's some specials. 8 to 10-pound half spiral hams at $4.15 a pound. 12-pound pit hams at $4.35 a pound. 18 to 22-pound bone-in hams for $3.40 a pound. 14 to 16-pound whole raw turkeys at $2.85 a pound, and also whole smoked turkeys for $4.80 a pound, and mini pit hams are $5.99 a pound. And on top of that, limit 4 of each item per customer. You can go online, WacoCustomMarketplace.com, to order. Drop by their location, 425 Lake Air Drive. It's a great place for what you need when it comes to Baylor tailgating or wherever you're tailgating with Kansas State tomorrow and TCU next week. And also, they have a butcher shop and a bakery. How about beef tenderloin? How about beef bone-in prime rib? They can do that and cut that for you. Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgin Ford. It's that time of year. It's football season. And BK Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football teams in Texas, right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, led by our leading rusher, the F-150, 45 years in a row. Lock in your best price and rate today by custom ordering your new F-150 at BK Ford. Simple, easy, trusted. Experience better at Bird Colgin Ford.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Howdy, Chet Garner here, professional guide, searching for bears in the wild. But not just any bears, oh no, a particular kind. With hundreds of thousands roaming freely in the wild, yet still hard to spot unless you know the signs. There they are, Baylor bears. If you're a bear enthusiast or even a bear yourself, join me and let's find some bears in the wild.
Join the expedition at baylor.edu/alumni.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Grayson Grundhoefer of Sikkim365.com. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Grayson Grundhoefer, Bearcast co-host, also a part of the recruiting in many ways, covers that like you wouldn't believe, and also college football analyst and even basketball joins us on 365 Sports. And Grayson, thank you very much. It's a night game. They're back home. Seems like it's been forever. It's a game that has incredible meaning to it, what it means for both teams in the Big 12. How critical is it, in your opinion, when it comes to this weekend's recruiting as well?
It's a huge one. I mean, this is a weekend that I think a lot of people had been kind of waiting for. I know that Baylor fans in particular, you go through the course of this season, and there were a few big games on the schedule when you looked at Oklahoma State. At the time, they were a top 10 team, basically. But if you look at their schedule, really, they didn't play any of the best teams on it in the early part of the season, and that's just kind of the way things played out in the Big 12 this year. But now you get an opportunity against the top 25 Kansas State team, and obviously the TCU games next week and the Texas game. But all your big games are coming up late in the season. So I think that adds to it as well. But you're exactly right. With it being a blackout atmosphere, with it being a night game, which is the first Big 12 night game Baylor has had in 2 years. So it's a big deal in that regard as well. And you know that the environment's going to be electric for recruits, right? Because it's this atmosphere, it's a sellout, it's an opportunity for Baylor to show a lot of recruits kind of what they're all about and what they've been building towards throughout this season, and just how much better they've gotten throughout the year. And so I think that is going to be huge. So, yeah, if they play really well, I think that could be doing some very nice things for them on the recruiting trail. But obviously, it's more important that they get the win than anything else.
Who are the recruits that are going to be in attendance that you know of?
I mean, it's a long list. So I'm not going to go through every single name or anything like that, but quite a few of the commits will be there. Austin Novosad will be there. He's got his playoff game tonight, but he'll be in attendance. There's quite a few other ones. DJ Coleman, DK Kalu, the big defense lineman out of Bridgepoint, who obviously won his first playoff game of the year yesterday. They knocked off Katie Tompkins in what was a pretty big upset. Mason Dossett, who's also at Ridgepoint. He's a 2024 guy, so he's going to be in attendance as well. He's a big-time prospect. There's quite a few. I mean, it's going to be a very good one, a very fun atmosphere, I think, for all recruits involved. And so I think that this is going to be an exciting time. And for Baylor's side of things, they brought in a really good group for this game. They'll bring in another really good group next game. So it's going to be very important that they show a good on-the-field product as well as an off-the-field product, too.
Speaking of that on-the-field product, Grayson, I know it's been a few days now. It doesn't really have a ton of bearing, but it is, what we can base our last, glimpse of this football team on is that win over Oklahoma. What did that tell you about this team? Everybody's got their different thoughts, but what were your main thoughts coming out of that game?
Yeah, so I think after the Oklahoma game, the main thing that really comes to mind is that Baylor continues to go back to this RVO style, right? And that's been something that's done really well for them offensively. They just continue to turn around, hand the ball off, establish line of scrimmage, and try to dominate up front. And when they're able to run the football effectively, it makes them really tough to beat. And so when you watch the game against Oklahoma, as well as the games before that against Texas Tech and Kansas, they were able to dominate up front, move the pile, and get 5 yards basically every time they ran the football, which then sets up everything for them offensively, takes a lot of the pressure off of Blake Shapen. And that's what they've continued to trend towards. And that's what they did in Norman. They established that front. They were able to run the ball effectively. And then you could see Blake Shapen make a few throws here and there as well. On the defensive side, they continue to do what they've done all year, which is be really good for stretches and then really inconsistent for other stretches. And so it's going to be very important for them, I think, in this one that their tackling gets a lot better because in Norman, then, of course, in Morgantown, they really struggled in that regard. The first guy really wasn't making the play. It was the second or third guy. So they're going to need to correct that because Deuce Vaughn and Adrian Martinez can make life miserable for you if you're not able to make tackles in the open field.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Do you feel like the turnovers Baylor has either been forcing, they forced, or in some cases gifts? Is it because they're starting to grow up in the secondary or because teams have just not protected the football in Texas Tech and obviously last week as well?
Yeah, I think it's two sides of it. I think Dave Aranda has had really, really good game plans going into both games. Now, against Texas Tech, that game plan worked a little bit better. They were able to create turnovers, but also keep Tech from moving the football. Against Oklahoma, a team that can actually run the ball, Baylor really struggled. Baylor gave up a lot of yards. They gave up a lot of points. And so, yes, they forced the turnovers, and that's been great. And that's because Dave Aranda's put them in good positions, in my eyes, to make plays. You also noticed, TJ Franklin, for instance, batting that pass that ended up being an interception by Dylan Doyle. That's just a guy making a play. Lorando Johnson, he got in front of a pass and disrupted it, and then Christian Morgan picked it off on the backside. Like, those are things that of a player making a play, and it's Dave Aranda putting a guy in a position to go make that play as well. So I think it's two sides of the coin. But in general, this defense still needs to grow up even more. I think that's very clear to me. It's not just the secondary, it's really everyone. They need to come together even more, especially when it comes to tackling. Just the little things, right? Tackling and not allowing guys to get wide open downfield like we saw with Marvin Mims. They got to just shore some things up. And if they can do that, they can make a nice run here in November.
Grayson Grundhoefer, 365 Sports with us. Baylor, home against Kansas State tomorrow night just after 6 o'clock at McLean Stadium.
Grayson, what did you think of Squirrel Williams finally having a day where it wasn't supplemental, where he was the guy?
Yeah, I would say that was really fun to see, right? Because I think for the longest time we've talked about Squirrel and how talented he is and just the kind of impact he can actually have on the field, but it's just been injury after injury after injury. So finally this year, he's been injured some this year as well, but to see him on the field and getting 20-plus carries and really being the workhorse running back because Richard Reese obviously wasn't able to play up to his potential due to the flu, it was great to see Squirrel have that role and really assert himself and dominate. And when Baylor has all of their running backs, they're going to be really, really good. The problem is we haven't seen that even once this year. So I'm hoping as the season progresses here, you're able to see kind of a three-headed monster with Squirrel and Richard Reese and Quaylen and even Tay McWilliams if he's able to be, fully productive whenever he comes back. That would be great to see because the offensive line's really starting to click. So now they just need those running backs to get healthy and really all come together. And if they can, you could see something really, really special.
How has Blake Shapen played versus your preseason expectations?
Blake really, I think that, I think I've probably been maybe too harsh on Blake as far as when I watch him. And I think that's because of the expectations I had for him coming into the year. And I think it's fair to sit there and think coming into the year that he would just have, a few games here and there where he'd throw for 300 and something yards and 4 touchdowns and really expand the offense down the field. But in hindsight, that's not really what Baylor wants to do. Baylor wants to run the football and establish the run first. And all they want out of Blake Shapen is to complete passes downfield when given the opportunity in the play action and then be accurate and make the proper reads on third down or on second and short and be able to really take advantage of the things that the offense is setting up for him and of what the defense is showing him. And so I think he's been more of a just kind of game manager up to this point. I hate using that term, but that kind of is what he has been. So I'm hoping as this, we see these next few games, I think he will get tested more because I think these next 3 teams will do everything they can to take away the run game. And you might get to see Blake Shapen have some more opportunities to take shots downfield. Now, the question is, can he take care of the football? Can he not fumble it? Can he not throw costly interceptions? And can he actually convert on those opportunities? That's to be determined. But I think up to this point in the season, I would probably say he's been a little below my expectations just because I really felt like he was going to do some crazy things this year. And in hindsight, I got to remember, he hasn't really started very many games. He's still kind of new to this fold as well. And teams are actually preparing for him, right? So that's the other side of it too. But I think there's great times ahead for him as a Baylor Bear, though.
Did you think this is who he would be when they made the announcement he was QB1 and Bohannon was not?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, right? Because coming into it, you kind of thought, okay, so now Blake's just going to throw it all over the place because they decided to go with more of a pocket passer instead of what Gary Bohannon was a year ago. But I really do think that Blake is still doing some things that are probably a little more hidden than people realize. Like those throws across the middle of the field, Gary just simply was not making those consistently enough. The throws against Texas Tech over the top of the defense, again, those are throws that only Blake can make of the quarterbacks on the roster. And so I think that's pretty key. And I think that's something that's probably underrated a little bit because I think everyone had these just massive expectations for him. And I do think you see glimpses, but now you just need to see him kind of put the whole thing together. And if he can, that raises this team's ceiling to a whole nother level to a point where, hey, maybe they can go out and win another Big 12 championship and repeat, go back to a Sugar Bowl and accomplish all the things that they were trying to accomplish early in the season.
Thank you, Grayson. Appreciate your time. Grayson Grundhoefer, Sikkim365.com recruiting analyst, co-host with Craig on the Bearcast and also college football analyst, and does jump right into men's basketball. Speaking of that, Baylor men's basketball hosting Norfolk State tonight at the Farrell Center. That's a team they played in the NCAA tournament. In fact, it was the first game that they played before losing to eventual championship finalist, North Carolina. This is 365 Sports. Ideal MRI in the Central Texas marketplace is phenomenal. If you have something that hurts you, a muscle or perhaps a ligament, or something that doesn't feel right, or is something that the doctor, your doctor, whoever it might be, your family doctor, practitioner, or even your orthopedic surgeon. They want another look at what is a problem. And it could be something that an x-ray can't find, or they just need validation or confirmation on what they think it is. Maybe a torn rotator cuff, or maybe something, unfortunately, with an ACL, MCL, PCL, whatever it is in your knee. Or something they need to get inside your body to find out. Is it something in your abdomen that's creating some pain? They can do that. State-of-the-art technology MRI machine that's as good as you can find. And also the best part is they'll find what they need, or what you need, or your doctor wants to know about, and do it for $497 or less every single time. We've had story upon story about people who thought that they had to spend $1,000 or $1,500 somewhere else. They've driven to Waco, and they've spent $497 or less every single time at idealmri.com.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
It is the segment which we warn you ahead of time. Do not take any of our advice seriously when it comes to gambling. Or even bets with friends, which is gambling. It's 7 games. Levi Caraway, who's an evil person, puts up 7 games. He asks us to pick them. Usually we do that by sometime Thursday night, Thursday evening, or earlier in the day. And last week, all 3 of us went 4-3. And this week, I don't know what we're going to go. But it's interesting. I think there's some differences this week. So,
well, I have to have them. I'm 4 games back with 3 weeks to go. So,
well,
I mean, I believe, but some of these I'm taking a look.
Maybe you're the 69 Cubs and you catch the 69 Mets and you catch the Cubs. Here we are. Across the board, left to right, here are our picks. Oklahoma, after Baylor beat them 38-35, at home against West Virginia, who may be, who knows, out of gas, as is possibly head coach Neil Brown. Craig?
I mean, this is the easiest game to pick on this entire list. I mean, West Virginia has shown that it can be scrappy, but at the same time, I can't help but see most of the conversation that's West Virginia football based all be around the head coach and whether or not he's a good fit for the program at this point. And most of that conversation seemingly steering in the direction of, no, he's not. We need somebody else. Hire Hugh Freeze or hire, whoever the name is. So, yeah, I mean, Oklahoma, I'm probably the lowest on them in terms of like confidently picking them in games that I've been in years as anybody else would be because they've been so good for so long. But even still, I just think West Virginia's in even a lower spot. And give me the Sooners to bounce back after a very angry Brent Venables last week, was clearly frustrated with some of the things that they weren't able to do against Baylor. So I think that they'll have a good performance and get a win over the Mountaineers, get bowl eligible.
Yeah, I don't think Dylan Gabriel's going to have 3 interceptions again, but West Virginia's defense, the one thing they have done in the games that they've won is create turnovers. But, yeah, I think he'll just be too much for that. I mean, they're scrappy, and I can see those running backs in particular, getting some, a good yards against that Oklahoma defense, which isn't great against the run. But I just think Oklahoma, after losing at home, really.
Would you change your mind if it was in Morgantown?
It is in Morgantown, isn't it?
Yeah, it is in Morgantown.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, hell, that's how much I was paying attention. I picked Oklahoma, so it wouldn't change mine. Mississippi, Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, Alabama, and Roll Tide.
Alabama has lost 2 games by a total of 4 points, and while they are certainly not deserving of the CFP, let's not pretend like they're in Oklahoma situation where the wheels fell straight off for a little while of the cart. But I do think that there's a reason that Nick Saban beats his old assistants most of the time. I think this will be a really, really good game. I just don't see Alabama losing 2 games in a row. I just don't, and that's why I picked the Tide here.
Yeah, I just think Alabama's a better team overall. Quinshon Judkins has been, obviously very good, putting up, big numbers throughout the season as Ole Miss has become more of a running attack this year. And Ole Miss is a really good football team. But I don't know. I was hesitant with this one just because last week I was convinced that Alabama was going to be like prime playoff ready, focused, killer instinct driven Alabama, and they weren't. And it's clear that you can't just flip that switch and that they just are who they are. And they've got a very talented quarterback and they've got a bunch of very other talented pieces, but they're just not the team that they have been in years prior. And there's just something a little bit off with this group, whether that's Saban heading for a retirement lane or, whatever the case may be for why that is. They're just not quite that typical elite level that we've expected. And even still, yes, I'm expecting them to bounce back and beat Ole Miss. I am very curious, like how competitive this game does actually become by the end of it, or how close this is down the stretch. But yeah, give me Alabama.
Alabama's a pretty heavy favorite in this game as well, according to Vegas.
I think so, yeah.
I think it's not well over double digits, but Alabama, I take the Tide. Yeah, I like Craig said, I thought last night you'd see kind of a finely tuned engine that would play a little bit cleaner, a little smarter, but they are not a very smart football team. They make mistakes at the most inopportune times, which has always been like the anti-Nick Saban Alabama, so I take the Tide. UCF, what's a great game in Tulane?
Yeah, this is it, Tulane. I'm picking UCF. I think they've woken up a little bit after that thumping they got on the road. The last time they were on the road at East Carolina. This is a more athletic team than Tulane. Tulane might be better at the little things under Willie Fritz than UCF is under Gus Malzahn right now, but I'm picking the Knights to continue their role here. I think this will be a fantastic game. Tulane is really tough mentally. They're really tough on defense, but I do think I like the Knights here to win another close one.
Yeah, I struggle with this one. I mean, I think UCF will be full go at quarterback. I think that's the expectation. If you got Rice Plumlee available, then I think he's going to be able to run a little bit and give you a different look. But, yeah, I mean, this has been a couple of teams that have had, relatively or give up relatively few points defensively from what I remember looking at. And I think that this is a really curious ball game. I was really leaning towards Tulane earlier in the week, and I don't know how much of that was the fact that this is in New Orleans or what, but I do think Tulane's going to have to whip the ball around a bit, and I like UCF to be able to prevent that, and keep this a somewhat low-scoring game. And ultimately, I like their offense a little bit better, especially on the ground. So I went UCF.
I just like Willie Fritz, and not because he joined the show, because we'll get Gus Malzahn at some point too. But I just have a feeling. I think this Tulane team's got a little grit to it. Kind of reminds me a little bit of maybe 2019 Baylor, something like that. I don't know, but I'll take Tulane. Baylor at home against Kansas State. I mentioned this. We all give our predictions, and some now have been battered into because when they have picked one team or the other that Baylor has won, that they are now in a point where they're scared to give their honest opinion, Paul. In the site, they pick now the opponent because it's helped Baylor win for some reason. Baylor, I think the key here, no matter what you want to say yes to, special teams. Noah Rauschenberg. What he's done on kicks. Now, it's going to be weather, it's going to be cold, whatever. Don't kick the nose, although UT shut him down inside the 20, 25-yard line many times. He has three career kick returns for touchdowns. They have two punt returners who have both taken a punt back for a touchdown. So Isaac Power, rocket launcher time. I think whoever scores or sets up an easy touchdown or points via the special teams will win this game, and I will go with Baylor.
I think that this is going to be a tight one. I think the one advantage in my mind that Kansas State has over Baylor right now is they do some of the little things better than Baylor does, the little things that have undone games for Baylor this year. But Baylor doesn't win in Morgantown. Kansas State has a really hard time. It's not quite as bad, but winning in Waco. And so I like to lean to those historical trends a lot of the time. And this Baylor team has shown me something the last few weeks that they didn't have early in the season. I'm taking Baylor at home at night in the blackout in a great atmosphere.
I mean, y'all want a historical trend? How about that Baylor's won 4 in a row?
Yeah.
I mean, there's the historical trend for you as well, as they've won this no matter their ups and downs they've had. I think Baylor and Kansas State are very similar teams. I like Baylor's passing game a little bit better and trust Shapen more than I do Adrian Martinez. I think that the Baylor defense needs to have some pride and be a bit better against the run. If they can do that and not bottle up or stop Deuce Vaughn or Adrian Martinez, but if they can just limit that and get into we're going to run versus your run and get stops versus your stops, I like their chances. I like their chances at home on a Saturday night. They've got all the advantages. I think they've got the advantage as far as what tips you in one direction or the other. So, I go Baylor here.
Yep, I'll take Baylor. Also, and Adrian Martinez and Deuce Vaughn, if you don't grab them, and if it was anything like we saw in West Virginia or a couple other times, then, you're going to have a long day, even if you do tackle well. Texas Tech at home against Kansas in a game that has not gotten a lot of attention, but obviously critical. Texas Tech needs a win. Kansas is feeling really good, and they should after winning last week against Oklahoma State to become bowl eligible.
Yeah, I picked Kansas here because, one, they're on a roll. 2, Texas Tech is not in 3. I don't know who's going to play quarterback for Texas Tech. And if it's anybody other than Baron Morton, I'm lukewarm on them right now at this point in the season. So I like Kansas, especially if – and I don't know if he is or not. I mean, they might be just throwing him out there to mess with everybody's head. But if Jalen Daniels can get back and play for this Kansas team, they might have more than one win left in them for the rest of the season. So he's a difference maker. Of course, Jason Beaton was great last week against a really banged-up Oklahoma State team that was totally out of gas and without their starting quarterback. But I'm picking the Jayhawks here. I like him to at least have a little mini streak here before the schedule, again, continues to get tough for them on the way out.
Does Paul pick against Kansas anymore?
No.
Have we kept track of this?
No, I picked against him.
I was making sure.
Yeah, it was back before you went to Hawaii.
Again,
you went to Hawaii.
She could not, like I said before, she could not care less about the football team. She's excited about it, but again.
Who is she?
Amanda, my fiance.
Right, good.
She was, by the way, at lunchtime today watching the championship game. Again.
The KU men's basketball.
Yeah, she's seen that more than I've seen A Few Good Men, and I've seen A Few Good Men a lot.
Wow.
Hey, I bet Baylor fans have watched their championship game a ton.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the outlier here. Texas Tech's undefeated at home. This game's in Lubbock. They need a win desperately. And I think Kansas, great win for them last week, but I don't foresee Devin Neal having 300-plus all-purpose yards, even though I don't really trust the Tech defense a ton. He might have a big day, but I default to them at home. I default to the fact they have to get a win here to really feel like they can even make a bowl game, which I know is like first-year head coach. It's whatever if you do or not. At least that was what the talk was in the preseason. I was pretty adamant that I felt like they had a team that they could go make a bowl game this year, and they're going to be, cutting it close. KU's already got theirs. It's not like they're coming to this game like super, like we got to get a win, but Tech does. So if they can't get one tomorrow, like this is their best bet, I think, remaining. Although, do they play Oklahoma State? I think Tech does play Oklahoma State, which who the heck knows with them. But, just give me Joey.
I think, have they not played them?
I don't recall.
Yeah, no, they lost to them, yeah.
That was a close one.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so maybe this is the easiest remaining game. I can't remember who their other two are.
Tech has Texas. Kansas has Texas. I'm sorry. I'm telling you right now. Right now, I'm getting it up.
You keep saying that.
They have Iowa State and Oklahoma left.
Yeah.
Okay. Iowa State might be the easier win. We'll see it defensively, not. But anyways, give me Tech at home.
I'm taking Kansas. I think that they'll play free and easy. That doesn't mean they're going to get undisciplined. I think the win they had last week, I think that helps you just kind of breathe a little bit more. And I think that they'll play free and easy, and they're going to need to because Texas Tech's going to try to do that. But I will take Kansas to win. I think they maybe, when they were 5-0 and then all of a sudden 5-3, are they going to win? They did. And now I think that they're going to win another game. Good luck to Joey McGuire and Tech to get bowl eligible. And then depends on who you are. This game has national implications, no question about it. Big 12 championship type implications. Texas at home, a favorite against the Frogs.
I am picking the Frogs here for two reasons. One, I need to, make some moves here, and I thought you guys were also all going to pick North Carolina. But I'm going with the team of destiny thing here, and it's the first half versus second half thing that goes on where Texas is really good in the first half. They're not so good in the second half, and their mirror image is TCU, who's not good in the first half but really good in the second half when it matters. So I'm going to take that trend as TCU in the second half gets this done on the road.
What if they're down 30 at halftime?
I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay,
but
they'll come back and make it a game by the end if history
They'll win
holds.
41-38. Yeah.
So,
all right.
But that's why.
All right, Craig. Okay, Paul, very, very interesting. Thank you, Craig.
Yeah, I think TCU's a really, really good team. This is nothing against them. This is the fact that it's a huge game for the Longhorns down in Austin, college game day. They're feeling themselves. And I don't think that this is a team where TCU can just expect to score points and not have any answered. You know what I mean? I think that however it ends up starting off, you're going to have to really shut the door on Texas to keep them from scoring points and grinding it out with Bijan or hitting a big explosive play And I think TCU in most games this year has been the most explosive team, right? They've been the more explosive team pretty much every time. They might still be more explosive than Texas, but I don't think it's by much as maybe versus others. I think that Bijan in the ground game is really what sold me on this, although Kendry Miller and TCU have a really good ground game as well. I think it'll be a fascinating little chess match, but I default to just kind of the buzz growing in Austin right now, having home field and the big buildup for this one. I think they're really feeling that momentum. And, TCU has just looked ripe for the taking. I mean, you look at several games this year where they could have gotten wiped out. And towards the end, they're always able to make enough plays. And I think eventually that runs out. I don't think you can do that start to finish throughout the year. So this is a ripe opportunity where, you get down. You're not going to be able to necessarily make that comeback. Although I say all that, and Sark's teams are the absolute worst as far as giving up second-half comebacks. So something's got to give here, and maybe there's no comeback needed. Maybe somebody just takes control and holds on throughout the game. I'm really looking forward to watching how this goes and unfolds. But, give me Texas at home.
Let me tell you something. Last week when they played on the road, Texas, against Kansas State, it was coming off that throttling of Oklahoma State. Texas starts well. They start very, very well. And that's great, the good game plan and scheme and all that. But it's amazing that even that game that they had total control of, that Kansas State's in their territory late in the game with a chance to tie it up. It's really crazy. The Dr. Jekyll, I don't know about Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, but the mentality of the first half for success compared to the second half. And they kind of let Kansas State hang around a little bit, like they did Oklahoma State. That one bit them. That did not. I just feel like Texas is, and this is not me jumping on the fact that we do this and then they did just pop the bubble. I just think they're really playing good football. And to me, the difference is how well and physical and how intense they're playing on defense. And I love their linebacker, as I said earlier in this week, in Jalen Ford. So I take the Horns. North Carolina, Mac Brown, Wake Forest, ACC.
This game will not have tackling. Yeah. It's not going to – it might – it's just I think that Mac Brown and Dave Clawson will get together and be like, look, we'll do it, but – let's keep it to a minimum. They don't. Neither of these teams play great defense at most of the time. I'm sure they've had their moments, but this is a huge rivalry game. Wake and North Carolina. These two schools do not like each other, and these two fan bases don't like each other. And I think it's going to be a great one. I am leaning with the young buck at quarterback here in Drake May over the wily veteran in Sam Hartman. Both these guys are super fun to watch. I think outside of, unless you have C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, Sam Hartman to me would be like an automatic, I want that guy as a quarterback on my team. He is so savvy and so good and does so many things well. Now, I know against Louisville a couple weeks ago, he's going to have his mind wiped Men in Black style to forget that game, but I still love what he does on the field. I love what Drake May does on the field, but I'm leaning Tar Heels here. I'm just they're playing better right now than Wake Forest is.
Their defense sucks. Drake May's awesome, but the Tar Heels defense is atrocious, and I'm not saying that Wake Forest is by any means like kings of the castle when it comes to playing defense either. This is going to be a really high-scoring game, and whoever's defense plays better might be the deciding factor in this one. Wake Forest has got to limit the turnovers. That is really a killer, or has been a killer for them. UNC is a team that maybe now they're starting to get a little bit of attention. It certainly feels like Drake May is. He's fun to watch. This will be a great quarterback duo, as you said. But Wake Forest is at home. I think they're a more complete team, and I think that having a pretty good quarterback negates some of the other side having this, this rising star of a quarterback. I think Wake Forest has got a pretty good one too. So, I default to them. I just think, all of the factors ultimately just having a bit better, I think, complete package and being at home, I go Demon Deacons here.
I didn't know they were playing at home because I obviously didn't pay attention to Oklahoma playing at West Virginia, but I just feel like Wake Forest is not much. They're not a complete team. How do you play a game without tackling? So you're talking this is going to be 48-42?
Bet the over.
Okay.
Bet the over. This one's going to have a ton of points scored. Neither of these defenses are really good. Wake's might be like, if you wanted to have like a skills competition, Wake's probably, Craig's right, a little on beyond on that one. I just think that they've been a little bit better. North Carolina's just been a little bit better lately.
Someone just said to me on a direct message on Twitter, how can you pick against North Carolina wearing their colors?
Well, you're not. That's not their color.
No, it's kind of, this is more of a navy blue, right?
Yeah, no, you're not. Okay.
So it looks like it though on the camera.
That person is got to work on some color. Get some rose-colored lenses there.
We're gonna throw this out to you for a second. Of all the picks we made, which one do you think? Who made the worst pick?
Oh, that's a good question. Man, I don't know. I could see Texas and TCU both winning that matchup. I would probably go with the UCF by Paul and Craig. I'm with you. I think Tulane. I like Tulane in that matchup, but that would be the only one that gives me any pause.
That's the one that gave me the most pause.
That's
the one that I had to sit and stew on a little while, and I ultimately went with my gut, which was initially when I just did my whole, not even think about it, just put answers down. UCF was my gut, and then I sat here and battled back and forth. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just stick with my gut on this one. So for better or worse, we'll see. But, that was definitely the toughest game to pick.
Yeah, it is a tough one. And, look, I've been riding UCF the last 3 weeks just because I like what they're doing right now, and they're starting to really pick up. And they've won with 2 different quarterbacks this year, and Mikey Keene and John Rice Plumlee. But I don't know. And part of it might be just Tulane is still going to have a great season. One other loss does not change their season. It's just like balancing it out. But if they're more physical than UCF, which is very, very likely because of the way that they play, then they could take that, that's fire right out of UCF right away if they, get punched right in the stomach and oh, hey, these guys are not kidding.
Yeah, I'm torn on the UCF thing because of the future with the Big 12, but I really like Tulane, and they beat Kansas State, and they've just been kind of just going about their business, and so we'll see what happens with that. Okay, coming up next, he's ESPN college football analyst and also color analyst with football for the network. Has Temple and Houston this week. Boy, we talk about that with Taylor McHargue. He's next on 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, they have a Black Friday sales event that's going on right now. And here are a couple of the opportunities for you, including the new 2022 Ram 1500 Crew Cab, with total values up to $4,250 with the 2.9% financing for 72 months. That's right, $4,250 with 2.9% financing for 72 months. And that is also... it does not include the $500 bonus cash to any first responder. No payments until January 2023. Shop award-winning dealership, shop Jeep, shop Ram trucks, and shop whatever you want. And they do also, because I bought one there, have great selections of pre-owned cars. Ted Teague and his staff. AJ's a great rep to help you out, client manager. They have others as well. He's the one that helped me. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Make a winning drive to Genco and refinance your vehicle. Every loan can skip monthly payments for 90 days with rates as low as 3.75% APR for 48 months. Right now is the time to make a play. At Genco, we save you money by helping you pay less for your car. Every loan scores no payments for 90 days. Then have a chance to win 3 more months of no payments. Apply online today for an additional discount of 0.15% off our already low rates, subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. For more information, go to GencoFCU.org. Member NCUA.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The
15 physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine Orthopedics, wants to get you back in the game.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hi, this is Paul Catalina. I recently got engaged to the love of my life, but the most important thing that I had to do before I popped the question was get that perfect ring. And I know nothing about rings. So I went to the wedding ring store, Boozer's Jewelers on Valley Mills Drive. I knew I needed a custom design, and that's exactly what they do. 9 out of 10 of their engagement rings are designed in-house. The entire process took less than a month, and they were great every step of the way. Great options on financing, excellent selection, and talented designers. My fiance and I get nonstop compliments on the ring. I only deserve credit for doing the smartest thing I could, walking into Boozer's and letting them work their magic. Your one-of-a-kind fiance deserves a one-of-a-kind ring, and that's what you get at Boozer's. Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store on Valley Mills Drive.
Did you know Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco is open to the public? Next time you're in town for a Baylor athletic event or you're in town for tourism, take advantage of their day passes for $10 a piece or the weekend for $30. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers 40 group exercise classes, including indoor cycling and yoga, boot camp, and bar. New free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, new elliptical machines, and a spacious weight room floor. Personal training with Christy London, Randall Corley, and Alec Botch, where you will be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, kids club, 16 tennis courts and 8 pickleball courts, and youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons available. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit wacotennis.com or visit them next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
McHargue end zone broken up and caught. Touchdown, Jordan Taylor. Wow.
It's time for our weekly segment with ESPN analyst Taylor McHargue.
Taylor McHargue joins us, 365 Sports on YouTube. Thanks for your time, Taylor. We appreciate it. Craig Paul and David Smoak. So there are two what are really juicy games in the Big 12. Let's start with that. Let's start with the game tomorrow night, Kansas State, Baylor, and basically all but an elimination game. We have it?
Hi, this is Taylor McHargue with Aquila Commercial. Sorry, I missed you.
All right. It's his voicemail we just got, so we need to call him back.
No, he's calling in right now.
I got him. There we go. All right, ask your question again.
Sorry, guys.
There we go.
Taylor, thanks for your time. Two juicy games in the Big 12, one in Austin, one in Waco. Let's start with the game that we'll be covering. An elimination game, all but an elimination game, Kansas State and Baylor.
Well, you said it exactly right. There's still some teams alive in the Big 12 that I think people forget, and obviously your listener base won't, but I think the separation between TCU and everybody else, a lot of Big 12 fans have forgotten how many teams there's still a possibility of sneaking into the Big 12 title game. I think Baylor, the last couple of weeks, starting to get over some of the early season mistakes that we saw, I think back to even the BYU game earlier in the year, but obviously a lot on the line and an opportunity to still get to the Big 12 championship.
TCU and Texas in Austin. That's the game day game this week. TCU has CFP Dreams in front of them still. Big game again. This is the bottleneck for the Big 12 championship. These two games this weekend. How do you see this one shaking out?
I think there's a reason that you have Texas still as a full touchdown favorite. I think it probably means they're a 3-point favorite, and then you give them another 3 points for being, having the game in Austin. The key in this is the TCU's clearly been the second half team where Texas has been sort of the front runners, jumped out to a lot of early leads, given games away late, even last week. It feels like there was an opportunity for them to to lose late in Manhattan, Kansas, but close that out with the win. So that's what I'm paying attention to is, can Texas, assuming again that they jump out to a big lead, can they close out a game? And that is something that TCU throughout this season has done a really nice job of, is even if they're down multiple scores, hanging around. And then, the other thing is TCU going to knock out another Big 12 quarterback, which it feels like they've done in every single game in the Big 12 this year.
Taylor, what have you thought of Quinn Ewers and what we've seen at this point?
Well, the most interesting to me is, and there was rumors that he had a banged up finger and maybe was losing a fingernail against Oklahoma State, but that was the only game this year that I thought there were real issues where he missed some throws that, guys, I'm confident the four of us could have all hit some of these throws. And he was, airmailing things that was just didn't look like the guy that we'd seen earlier in the year. So I think there is some validity to that, some sort of injury. Outside of that, he has been everything that he was hyped up to be, and the billing, that everything that we expected him to be. I think he's lived up to that when he's been healthy, and they're going to need him at his best, especially this week.
Yeah, I think one of our guys in the chat room mentioned that he maybe had some kind of a fingernails or something. I don't know, that he punched something and maybe a locker. I don't know the story, but
he warmed up. He warmed up with a glove on, and I think that was the biggest thing.
Oh.
I saw that on Twitter during the warm-ups, and then after the game, it comes out that he had something going on that right hand.
Yeah, because you're right. I think we all could make some of those throws because airmailed some of them. So, TCU, man, they just keep winning. They're dynamic. Texas obviously scores a lot of points. Texas starts well. TCU finishes well. Anything there with you on that particular DNA of each team?
I think what's interesting for both of these teams, and I really think about Sarkisian for Texas, they're both so good at creating the explosive play. And Sarkisian specifically, his entire career, he's done such a good job at manufacturing explosive plays downfield where he gets guys open at the second level. TCU has done that well this year as well, and I think that's what's been so surprising because coming into this season, Duggan wasn't even the guy to start the season. If you think back to the opener against Colorado, and now he's one of the, I don't know if front runner is the right word in the Heisman, but he's in the Heisman conversation at this point. And I think a big part of that is for both of these teams, you see a lot of explosive plays. And I think Texas secondary is still liable to give up the shot plays over the top, especially if they're not able to get pass rush, which I think that's going to be something critical to pay attention to.
I blanked on the game I was going to ask you about. Oh, you were in the American a lot, and one of the games we just talked about in our picks was UCF and Tulane, and UCF's been playing really well lately, coming off that loss against ECU. Tulane is at home. They play really tough defense. This one was really hard to pick, Taylor. These are two teams kind of on similar tracks right now.
Well, and they're both led by their defenses, really. And if John Rice Plumlee plays for UCF, I think this is a very different type of game. But if he does not play, I like Tulane. Tulane is led by their defense. They have played lights-out defense almost every week this year. Their lone loss against Southern Miss really was because Michael Pratt threw a pick six. If that doesn't happen, they're sitting there undefeated and close to cracking the top 10, where they have the one loss, but all of their wins, going back to the big win against Kansas State out of conference, that's all led by their defense. Last week against Tulsa, Tulane did not play well on offense. Michael Pratt had less than 150 yards passing, but they week in and week out play well on that side of the ball, and I think that's what you're going to have to expect in this one as well. Critical thing, again, is that John Rice Plumlee play, because his ability to extend plays is critical for them. If he can go, he's the type of guy that can make things happen outside of the scheme, which has been so big for UCF this year.
Taylor, Alabama obviously reeling a bit, especially by their standards, on the road against Ole Miss, who's sitting there at 8-1. A nice little battle of quarterbacks with Bryce Young and Jackson Dart. What are your thoughts on Titan Rebs?
Yeah, I think, there's been some overreactions, I think, to me this week with the people calling, for the end of, and it feels like we do this every couple of years. Anytime Bama doesn't make the playoff, it's always just the end for Saban. Their two losses are combined, less than 5 points that we're talking about. I know there were some other games this year that they could have lost, but I think the obviously some of the hysteria that we've seen from the talking heads this week, I would caution against. I think it's also interesting that this is likely where game day was going to go if Alabama had won, and what an environment that would have been in Oxford. The only other thing I would say, just on game day, on a side note, a little bit disappointed that they're coming to Austin this week. Having already been here, I thought, you mentioned Tulane a minute ago, I thought that was an awesome opportunity for them to go to New Orleans, big game in the American, but there's still something to play for, specifically for Ole Miss, where if they get some help, it's not impossible for them to represent the West. They need LSU to lose again, but still, obviously, a huge game anytime Alabama comes to town, especially right now, where if they win out and LSU loses, there's still an opportunity for Ole Miss to represent the SEC West.
So glad you said that, by the way. That's 2 times Austin's hosting this year, which, I guess, you double up, that's fine with certain games, but I'm with you, man. I wish that it would have been a different outcome there.
Yeah, I just think game day is so special when they go places that you don't have it all the time. Like App State earlier this year, that's not a team that's competing for anything other than bowl eligibility, right? I mean, they've got some losses in the Sun Belt, but it was one of the best atmospheres I can remember for college game day. And I thought they missed an opportunity. I thought it was interesting that Stanford Steve and the Bear from ESPN were both sort of lobbying for Tulane because, I think selfishly they wanted to go to New Orleans.
Oh yeah.
But I just thought, you've done Texas already this year, but that is it's the most valuable brand in college football. So I think in this case, it's really just money talks.
How much do you feel like, and it appears based on what Sonny Dyke said even over the weekend, that Quentin Johnston went out. We had Brian Estridge on Monday. How much of an impact they're explosive without him, but don't they almost must need a big game from him tomorrow?
I think there's no doubt. And just like we talked about a minute ago, I mean, the explosive plays, that's something I expect in this game. If he can't go, that limits their ability to create those shot plays. And in this game specifically, you have to have that. Expecting that, again, Texas to jump out to a lead. But if you want to stay in this game and have an opportunity to win, he has to go.
Taylor, if you have a Heisman pick right now, who is it?
Earlier in the year, it would have been C.J. Stroud. But as time's gone along, I really hasn't had anything that's been spectacular. I mean, he's had a couple sub-150 passing yard performances out of the Big Ten. This is going to kill me to say this, but I think a guy that deserves more credit than he's getting right now is Bo Nix. Look at what he's doing for Oregon right now, and take out the first game of the year against Georgia. I know that's asking a lot, but I don't know that there's many people that are playing better than he is right now. Corum at Michigan, obviously he deserves a lot of credit there as well, but I don't think Michigan's schedule has been very challenging. Bo Nix to me has impressed me far beyond what I expected out of him after transferring from Auburn. And I would add, doesn't it speak volumes for the situation that Auburn's in now, and then you remove him and how good he looks with a change of scenery?
I was just going to ask you that about, if you're trying to sell the Auburn job to someone and, downplay the chaos off the field there in the alumni, if, look, Gus Malzahn's having a great time at UCF. Bo Nix is a superstar now, as where he was a head case at Auburn. It's not exactly, a ringing endorsement to come to the Plains.
No, it's not. And it is what I feel like Texas was a few years ago. And if you guys remember, Kirk Herbstreit went on a rant on College Game Day a few years ago about how toxic Austin was. And I remember that vividly because I live in Austin. And that, to me, is very similar to how that Auburn job is now. Just like you're talking about, there's some influential people involved there, and a lot of those are the people that wanted Brian Harsin out last year, and then all the off-the-field scandal stuff gets brought up, which we don't even know if that ever actually happened. I totally agree with you. If I'm a big-name coach looking around, that is not that's not high on my list of places that I would relocate to.
Taylor, a shot in the dark here because I don't know how much you've seen him play, but there's a pretty good little quarterback matchup in the ACC this weekend with Sam Hartman in Wake Forest and Drake May at North Carolina. Pretty close game, just looking at the odds and all of that. I was particularly curious just what you thought about Drake May and how much you've seen him.
I'm glad you brought him up because I forgot to mention him when we were talking about Heisman a minute ago, but he deserves to have his name as one of the dark horse guys as well, where there's an outside shot. It's not very likely, but if they were to win out and they do it convincingly, it's not impossible that North Carolina sticks their neck out there for some playoff contention. And it's been wholly led by their offense. Their defense is one of the worst in college football, but still winning, have just the one loss this season, and it's because of Drake May. For anybody that hasn't spent time watching him, it's not just college numbers either. This is going to be a future first 5 type of pick kind of guy. Has all the right intangibles, delivers the ball, he's on time, and his teammates seem to really like him. And beyond just this season, I think there's a lot to like and pay attention to for Drake May in Chapel Hill.
Taylor, Blake Shapen was given the job, earned it based on the competition in the spring and obviously how he finished last year, even though he missed the Sugar Bowl. When they made the decision, I think a lot of people, I admit that I thought they'd be not slinging it around, but he would be more dynamic in the passing game. A lot of it, the young receivers, now they're growing up. The running game is their main bread and butter. But did you expect a little bit more from him up to this point?
I think I did. I think also early in the year it became, and I mentioned the BYU game earlier, it became clear that they were going to struggle to hit shot plays early in the year. And maybe they don't have the weapons on the outside. I also don't think O-line play has been great for the Bears for a lot of this season. But, for Baylor fans also, I've had a chance to call some of Gary Bohannon earlier this year. I think they definitely made the right choice in who they went with. But I do think I'm surprised at the lack of explosiveness that Baylor's put out, given sort of what we saw last year, especially late in the season. It just feels like a step down from what we saw towards the end of last season.
Thank you. Good luck, Houston and Temple. Houston has been, I don't know who they've been. Who have they been?
They've been a shootout with SMU is what they've been here lately.
Yeah. How about that one? How about Tanner Mordecai, Taylor?
Yeah, that took me about 6 hours to comb through that film, but it's an opportunity for Houston to get to another bowl game. So we will see. But yeah, as always, guys, I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you very much. Got to go to Taylor McHargue, ESPN college football broadcaster analyst, with us on Fridays at 4:30. It looks like he's about to board a plane to his game between Houston and Temple. All right, we're not done. At the 5 o'clock hour, top of the hour, former Baylor quarterback Seth Russell analyzing the games this weekend, including Baylor and Kansas State, and the keys to that. We'll come back with more of that ourselves. This is 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, they are the people that you can count on. They're the people that I've counted on at times as well for the service of my vehicle, even though I didn't buy my car originally from the folks over at Richard Carr. But the next time that I do need a vehicle, which hopefully isn't for quite some time, they will be the people that I count on once again. But if you are in the market for a new or pre-owned vehicle, you just need something, period, well, they are the people that you can count on as well. Right now, they've got trucks and SUVs all over the lot. 2022 Sierras, Acadias, and Terrains from GMC have arrived and are waiting for you to test drive today. They've also got Cadillac XT4 and XT5 SUVs available on the lot as well for a test drive, but inventory is going fast now that all of these new vehicles have arrived. When it comes to the Sierra in particular, they've got best-in-class towing, strong steel bed, multi-pro tailgate, advanced collision avoidance, and a luxurious interior that includes massive touchscreens, plus 14 camera views and premium comfort. So it's waiting for you, like all these other models, to test drive today. Get on over to the dealership, and when you get on over there, maybe you don't already have in mind what you want, or maybe you don't see what you want, whether that's a truck or SUV. Well, talk to the folks at the dealership, get on their inbound vehicle list, and you basically get your placeholder. You cut in line to be first come, first serve when that vehicle does arrive after the production hiccups cease and it's smoothed out and they get them back to delivering. Well, as soon as it hits the lot, well, boom, you're on the list. You're first come, first serve. You'll get your vehicle. But if you don't see exactly what you're looking for and you don't want to just sit and wait on a list for it, let them help you over at Richard Carr. Design the exact truck or SUV that you want, and they will have GMC prioritize it for you. They've got new trucks, dozens of quality pre-owned cars and trucks in stock. All pre-owns have gone through a 172-point inspection. For 23 years in Central Texas, Richard Carr's built a reputation, guess what, as That's right, the people you can count on for your automotive needs. Run by proud Wacoans, proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcar.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
I'm going to tell you a tale of two companies founded 25 years ago. The first, Pickup Outfitters, started as a little shop on Lake Erie Drive by a local company selling the truck bumpers they were making in Waco. Then, 6 years ago, new ownership took up the cause of battling vehicle nudity, vowing to fight until there were no more naked trucks in Central Texas. And so far, they estimate they've outfitted more than 40,000 trucks at Pickup Outfitters. Now, the second company's story is not as impressive. They too started 25 years ago, but didn't have the vision of Pickup Outfitters, and to date, they have not outfitted one single naked truck in 25 years. So we'll celebrate the 25th anniversary of Pickup Outfitters with money-saving specials and valuable prizes. The second company will support them too by giving away 25 one-month subscriptions to their online service called Netflix. Save and win the Pickup Outfitters 25th anniversary celebration through Thanksgiving. Details online at createacommotion.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, locally owned pizza place that's out of this world. Everything from the dough, the sauce, the sausage topping is made fresh in-house. Not to mention the amazing pizza pillows, the chicken wings are to die for. Try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries or tots, plus great specials on food and drink every single day. Shorty's is also the perfect spot to watch the game with your friends. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, here we go to wrap up this 4 o'clock hour. Former Baylor quarterback Seth Russell will join us at 5 o'clock. Sam Bradshaw, one of the nicest guests you could ever have at a show. He's the nicest guest ever. He'll join us today
at 5:30 and break down Baylor and Kansas State, the tendencies, and so much more. What have we not discussed enough of yet today? You know that there was a little rumor out there. There's a little bit of a rumor. I can't believe it's true in any ways about Deion and Lincoln.
Yeah, I don't think that. Well, I mean, not that he wouldn't go there. I mean, that'd be an interesting fit. That'd be an interesting fit there.
Man, no chance in hell is Deion coaching in Nebraska, man.
Yeah, I don't know,
I'm sorry, I'm not buying that for 1 second.
Jackson,
at least have fun with it.
Yeah, but Jackson, Mississippi is a little bit closer to where Deion is comfortable.
They don't have water problems in Lincoln.
No, okay, yeah, not now. I mean, you never know. No. But yeah, Deion's going to be in the name of this cycle, but I don't know about him in Lincoln. Now, one thing that I think Deion has proven he can do is he can get attention for recruits. And, you know, getting Travis Hunter to go to Jackson State this year was huge, and it's made everybody stand up and take notice because the best player he had in his team before that, and he's had a couple of good ones, but the best one and the one that you could say that he stole from that level would have been his own kid. So that's hard to, say that, you know, what would Shedeur Sanders be doing if Deion wasn't the coach at Jackson State, if he was just still, you know, a full-time media person, where would he be going to school? Now, he wasn't knocking down the door at some of the big boys, but he'd be at, you know, somewhere probably in the American Conference, I would think, playing quarterback. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where Deion goes. I don't think Nebraska is the culture fit. But again, if you want to go in a different direction you ever have, Nebraska, prime time is it.
Yeah, I mean, he's done well at Jackson State. There's no denying that. He's built up that fan base. He's got people packing the stands. He's getting better recruits than they've ever got. Like, Deion's a good coach. I'm just saying, his big jump, I don't think it's going to be to Lincoln, Nebraska. I think he's –
No, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I just think that he's more apt to stay in the South and, for perhaps all due respect, a bigger, better job than Nebraska. And I know there's not a ton of those out there, but I think there are some, and I don't think that he has to make a jump right now if he doesn't want to or if the right scenario is not there. So I don't know what his motivation is. Like, he could be at Jackson State for another decade. I think that's entirely unlikely. I do think he makes the jump here in the next year or two. But, yeah, I wouldn't have Nebraska probably on my top 10 of where I think he might go. But it's a fun rumor, and if they were to land him, I'll tell you what, that'd be a great hire.
It would be a great hire. Outside the box as you could possibly be.
A great hire.
And I think it would set that city on fire. It'd be a little bit of a culture shock for Deion.
Yeah, I think the thing about Deion too is, you know, the guy's already got money, and the guy can make money doing other things at the drop of a hat. You know, all he has to do is, you know, have his agent call him and be like, hey, well, I would like to do a soda commercial. And then he'd find somebody who's going to give him a soda commercial because he's that recognizable. Even beyond the college football world and everywhere, he's Deion Sanders. So, you know, money whipping him is, I mean, somebody's going to. Obviously, he's going to get a great salary as being a head coach, but it's not like he has to sit around and play that game necessarily, and that's going to drive him. He can really pick where he wants to go because it's not like he's not been rich for the last 30 years, you know, so.
Yeah, you know, I just think, too,
again, this is just there was just a little bit of out there, so we just brought it up. What the heck? And Paxton's the ones that threw it out there for me.
I mean, I think the whole, he's already made money, so he doesn't need money thing, and I know that's not exactly what you're saying, but, I mean, I think money still matters. I think for somebody like him especially, he doesn't want to just be a guy making $4 million. He wants to say, no, I'm the highest paid this or that or whatever. I'm the highest paid ever. Deion's all about, the things that he's done, and so, I don't think he's not going to do anything but take the absolute most that he can get from wherever he can get it and the absolute best situation. He doesn't have to be in a hurry right now. He can't wait 5-10 years and wait that long to go take, you know, a quote-unquote huge step up or however you would want to phrase it. I mean, obviously, Nebraska's a step up from Jackson State. Let's not dance around that. But, the big leap, you know, I don't know that he has to do that right this second. But, yeah, I mean, he's got to strike while the iron is hot, and the iron's pretty hot right now. I think he'd be a great hire just in terms of the energy and the recruiting and the spirit and all those things that he would bring to the table. I just don't know that he's going to go choose to sit in 30-degree temperatures in November if he doesn't have to. You know what I mean? And that's me, though. That's probably me as an anti-cold weather guy.
He played in Atlanta in a dome. He played in San Francisco, although it can get chilly in San Francisco and kind of wet. It's still at least somewhat warmer, although it can get cold in San Francisco.
But it's not Nebraska cold.
No.
And that's not the only reason why. It's just
of course, Dallas.
What I'm saying with that is that he does seem like
Right.
he's more of a Southern guy.
No,
but,
absolutely.
like, if you're going to pick your spot, like, isn't it going to be the perfect spot?
Yeah.
It's going to be the perfect spot. So you're not going to go for, like, oh, I've got money, I'll take less, or, oh, I'm going to go here. It's not really where I'm from or where I've been, but I'll just go there because it's an opportunity. Like, I think he's going to be calculated and smart. Like, Matt Rule will be the same way. And, you know, pick the job that is the absolute best fit where they can win right away. That's the other thing. Deion's not coming in to, like, rebuild somebody necessarily. I think coaches are smart about, like, what is realistic in terms of how to flip rosters and do all that. Now, Nebraska with NIL can probably show coaching candidates like, hey, we're invested, and we can get guys here. But it's just a heck of a lot easier to do it in Florida or, Texas or any other number of places that he might have opportunities here in the next few years. So, I don't know. It'd be a great hire. I don't buy that's the direction they ultimately go or the direction that he goes, but we'll see. That's the fun of the coaching carousel.
All right, it was fun to talk about. And I when I saw that, and then Paxton and a couple others put that up there, I was like, wow, but I've looked around. I don't see anything on it. But that was fun to discuss. And I'm with you. Go to where you want to go. You don't have to just take a job, although that fan base would just do anything for somebody to maybe turn it around. Now, a couple of the football notes from the week. When Tennessee lost to Georgia as the number one ranked team in the college football standings, it was the fourth time that had occurred since it began. In 2014, this is how long ago it was, I think Dak Prescott was the quarterback at Mississippi State. And they were number one in the college football standings. Imagine that. Lost to fifth-ranked Alabama, 25-20. In 17, Georgia was ranked number one, lost to Auburn 40-17. When did Kirby Smart take over Georgia? 18, 19? What year was it? And then in 2017, Alabama was number one and lost to guess who? Auburn, 26-14. And then Tennessee losing last week to Georgia. So 4 times since 2014.
For Kirby Smart.
Well, then he was a coach there. 4 teams ranked number one in the standings. Number one ranked teams have lost in the regular season. I guess it's the regular season losses by college. Yep, that's it. That's what it is. All right, when we come back, we have Seth Russell, former Baylor quarterback. Also, we have Sam Bradshaw, 5:30. Tomorrow, our pregame show here inside the studio, right around the corner from McLean Stadium, will be at 4 o'clock on the CW channel and here on 365 Sports. Speaking of the CW channel, our Sports Tonight condensed version, thanks to Emery Winter and those folks, 10:30 tonight on the CW channel. This is 365 Sports.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. A hidden gem, best selection of local craft Texas whiskey. So it's from Texas. Believe me, they got it, and they got all the varieties. Best selection of craft beers. Outstanding customer service. As a matter of fact, I am going to stop there on the way home tonight. I am having dinner with a friend and his wife, and it is her birthday. And man and I wanted to get her a gift. And so I thought, well, we'll get her a bottle of something that she likes. She happens to like brandy, and I don't really know anything about brandy. I've had it before, but as far as what to do, but you know what? I don't have to worry about that because I can go to Riverbend Liquor and Wine and I can say, hey, what's a nice brandy to give us a gift? And believe me, they'll give me more than one option there at Riverbend Liquor and Wine, and it'll be great. So if you need a recommendation for a gift, they can do that for you. They're fantastic at everything they do. Great promotions, a speedy drive-through window. You have nothing bad to say about Riverbend Liquor and Wine. They are excellent. They're elite at every single thing they do, and I will say it every time I have this ad about how great their customer service is. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street behind the bank. Check them out on DoorDash.
The wait is over. Richard Carr GMC has the trucks. 2022 GMC Sierras have hit the lot and they're waiting for you. Sierra trucks offer best-in-class towing, strong steel beds, multi-pro tailgates, and advanced features that make driving a Sierra second to none. Trucks are waiting for you to test drive now. So call now, log in now, or get here now and drive your next truck today at Richard Carr.
Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why we take the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott in Conroe at 936-756-7717. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's football and
The wait is over. Richard Carr GMC has the trucks. 2022 GMC Sierras have hit the lot, and they're waiting for you. Sierra trucks offer best-in-class towing, strong steel beds, multi-pro tailgates, and advanced features that make driving a Sierra second to none. Trucks are waiting for you to test drive now. So call now, log in now, or get here now and drive your next truck today at Richard Carr.
Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
TFNB, your bank for life, is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why we take the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott in Conroe at 936-756-7717. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's football and... All right, we are back. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. It seemed like that commercial break was never going to end, and it wasn't.
Yeah. Sorry about that. We had a little corrupted file there.
All right, we are now joined by former Baylor quarterback Seth Russell. He joins us on 365 Sports with Paul Craig and David Smoak. Seth, thanks for your patience. Appreciate you being a part of the show. What are your thoughts about Baylor, the 3-game winning streak, and who they've become? And is this more what you thought they would be?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I mean, just give credit to those guys that have, fought through just the early adversity, right? Going on the road to BYU and coming out with an L. That could have really derailed the season. With the high expectations of what we had with this team. But these past 3 weeks, I mean, I don't even recognize them. Right. I mean, you look at the games before these past 3 weeks. I mean, they're not the same team. I mean, they're totally night and day, in my opinion. They've really come and risen to the occasion, and they've done a great job both on the offensive and defensive side. And I only expect them to continue to progress, for the rest of the season.
Seth, you mentioned those expectations. When you take an early loss like that, and you have some guys that are inexperienced taking over for some veterans, especially on defense that Baylor maybe has never seen the likes of in the history of their program, how much can that throw a wrench in the machine for the coaching staff to get the team back up to that level that they're finally playing at now?
Yeah, it all just comes down to coaching, right? And I think just the atmosphere that's built in that locker room right now. I mean, they're going to bend, but they're not going to break, right? I mean, I think that's just kind of the mentality that Aranda and that coaching staff has built there. And hey, we're going to figure out, they figured out what was going on, what was wrong. They made some adjustments. They put guys in the right position. We got some guys back from injury from early in the season. And, it can derail, pretty early with some young guys, but, I think they really stepped up just on a, maturity level, right? Each game they matured, tenfold than the previous week. And I think they've done a great job of just rebounding, continuing to progress, right? Film work was probably at an all-time high after that BYU game, and they just built off of that moving forward.
Seth, what have been your thoughts seeing the progression of Blake Shapen throughout this season? Obviously got a small sample size last year, and that was a really good sample size, but I think perhaps it maybe misled expectations heading into this year because he still didn't have a ton of experience. Now he's got a good deal, more of it. Your thoughts on what you've seen along the way?
Yeah, I mean, I've been impressed with him from day one, right? I think Grimes just being an OC, and he wanted to protect his quarterback early, which I respect that. But now it's to the point where, hey, the gloves are off, right? We're at the last home stretch of the season. I mean, we got into conference play, and the quote unquote the playbook opened up a little bit, right? He grew a little more trust. I know the biggest factor, the biggest question mark that we all had coming into the season, at least on my opinion, was can Shapen still perform at a high level? And what are these receivers? Who are these receivers, right? And I think each week they've grown and they've come into their own. And now that the playbook is fully open for these guys, and I think just from a standpoint of what Grimes can call, I think he can call anything on that playbook and they'll run it, to almost to perfection.
Do you feel like it probably has been frustrating for Blake, or has he shown you a tremendous amount of patience and maturity because he's not able to just sling it around as much as maybe we thought he might do a little bit more?
Oh, shoot. I mean, I haven't seen much frustration from him. I mean, he's coming to his own just from, if I were in his position, I probably would have thrown my helmet down a few times. Maybe not, but maybe in the locker room, away from everybody. But he's done a great job. I mean, he's matured so well through this season. It's only going to continue to grow. I mean, just his confidence with Grimes and the receiving core and the time that he has up front to throw the ball, right, work in the pocket. He's done an amazing job just feeling that out. Early on in the season, he'd get flushed pretty quickly, but now he's working it. And just, it's just growing confidence, growing experience there, and just feeling really good with the ball in his hands. And I've been really impressed up to this point of how he's handled all of the negatives that have kind of been thrown his way, and he's just done a great job.
Seth Russell, former Baylor quarterback, when you were getting your time, when you were the starter at Baylor, they were in a run of constantly having weapons at wide receiver. Baylor this year has had these young receivers. Josh Cameron stepped up. Hal Presley now seems to step up, and Monterey Baldwin's been in and out. Gavin Holmes has had a couple of electric games. What was that like, you and young receivers trying to get on the same page?
Well, shoot, I mean, that all that is built in the off season, right? I mean, I was up there throwing routes every day after our afternoon classes. I mean, it's just the people that want to be great, they're going to work for it. And I mean, I've seen it with these guys just on how, a lot of them are running really crisp, sharp routes. I mean, they're very disciplined in their route running and decision making, and Chapin has done a great job of just getting the ball. But just to grow that confidence, right? I mean, that's just repetition. That's the only way that you can grow that. And, every quarterback and receiving core receiver should be working every single day in the off season, so that when it does get to the season, it's just more muscle memory, right? You kind of you can see the receiver, how he's throttling down, his body language on where he's going to be breaking, how quickly is he going to get in and out of the break, and you just feel that, and you get the ball out on time and get it in their hands.
What about him? It seemed like he on occasion can help buy a little extra time. Not a lot. He's not a guy that's going to run for a lot. Had 3 carries, maybe 9 yards in the win against Oklahoma. Do you think the staff has told him, because of the inexperience behind him, including himself, not to run the ball as much?
I don't think so. I think he's a very smart player, right? He's a lot smarter than I ever was. I'll just give you that. Just on the running standpoint of things. And so, I mean, he knows that he's the guy, right? This is his team. I mean, he's seen the previous quarterbacks come through and have gotten hurt, and it just completely derails the season sometimes. And I know that he does not want that to happen. And so, in my opinion, hey, when we're, it's third and 4, 3rd and 5, and we're sliding and we're a yard short, yeah, I'm going to be a little frustrated, just from my opinion. But I think he knows it's a long game play, right? Hey, we know we're going to go for it on 4th down. We have a really high execution rate on 4th down, but just being able to, avert some of those hits. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the slide, just because of obvious reasons, right? Late hits. I mean, your head is, a rubber ball on the turf, and that doesn't feel very good. But I just think he's a smart dude, right? He's an athlete. He's a competitor. I saw last week, right, instead of him sliding, he's diving for the first down, right? Because he knows that these games are make or break, and we don't have enough time in the season. All the early keeping you healthy, that's those first 3-4 games of the season. Now it's crunch time. Now we got to make sure we fight for every down, because you don't know if you're going to get the ball back or not.
Seth, would love to know what you think about this running back room and how they've kind of grown into a 3-headed monster that hasn't quite been able to turn into a 3-headed monster, because not all 3 heads have been available at the same time, basically. But they lose Tay early on. You get the huge performance that I think put a smile on everybody's face with Squirrel last week, knowing his journey. Reese is a true freshman star in the making. And then I feel like Quaylon Jones has just gotten better and better every single week. What are your thoughts on the backs?
Yeah, no, they've really come into their own as well, right? I mean, the coaching staff has done a great job. I mean, of course, everybody, right? We had speculation who's going to fill in for those guys that left last year, right? That were Big 12, first team, second team, third team, running backs. And early on, Squirrel went down, Quaylon went down, and then Reese had to step up. He's had a lot of carries. Besides last week, I think he had 4 or 5 carries last week, which is great for him for attrition moving forward, right? To be able to give some of that burden of those hits to the other guys, right? They can kind of disperse it evenly throughout the running back room. But I mean, to kind of hit off what you said with Quaylon, I mean, he's their banger, right? He's the guy that late in the game,
I mean, this offense is built to wear you down. And you get a 240, 250-pound back there, and you give them the ball, they're not going to want to hit him. I mean, that's just – I mean, they may want to. They may act like they're going to hit him, but he's going to fall forward for yards every single time he touches the ball. And so that's just a huge compliment that we missed maybe for the middle to early part of the season because he was out. But, I mean, all those guys, I mean, you got Squirrel, who's just a speedster, right? Not super heavy, but he can hit the holes pretty quick. I mean, you got Reese, who's kind of an all-around back. And then Quaylen, who can he's more of a one-cut, hey, hit the hole, you know, and get some extra yardage whenever, get the hard yards.
So I was watching this and knowing you were going to come up and be a part of today's show. I went back. It seems like Baylor, even a little bit under Rule and, of course, in Aranda, they will go for it on fourth down like it's nothing. But then I started thinking, well, that's also what Art Briles did in those Baylor teams back in the day. So in 2015, you guys were 28 of 40 on fourth down. In 2016, you were 26 of 46 on fourth down. And I thought, man, they're going for it all the time now, but it's 22 of 35 even last year when they had a hell of a team, 14 games. Did you go for it on fourth down as much as they do from deep in your own territory?
You know, I've been hit in the head a few times, so those minute details are hard to remember. But, you know, I think if we were in that kind of dead zone, right, you know, hey, 40 to maybe the 40, 40 to 40, maybe 40 to 35, we would go for it. But I remember a couple of times my senior year early on, right, Grove, I think it was one of the first couple of games of the season, we get the ball, I think we run it back. On the kickoff, we get it at the, 10, 15-yard line. And we go, snap, snap, snap. We get no yards. We maybe get 3 or 4 yards each snap, and then it's 4th and 2. And we went for it without even thinking. And we didn't get it. And I remember running over to the sideline, and Bennett was just like perplexed. He didn't know what the heck just happened. He was like, wait, the defense, like, was there an interception? He was just confused because it was so quick because they just got off the field. But not to go down any rabbit holes, but yeah, I guess the numbers kind of speak for themselves on how we went forward and what our success rate was.
You of course, on that staff in 2016 was changed because of the Brazos was no longer there, but the staff remained intact. You now see where Jeff Lebby is and what he's done, what Kendall's doing as well. Randy Clements, Phil Bennett, of course, up at North Texas, what Montgomery's trying to get done at Tulsa. Was there any doubt that those guys eventually, when they had not so much their own offense, but as coordinators, would be successful?
No, there's no doubt in my mind. I mean, they're all family. I mean, literally. I mean, Lebby is the son-in-law to Art, right? Bennett, Clemens. I mean, they all grew up together pretty much in the coaching world, and so. Just based off their mentality. Now, obviously, you're only as successful as the people you surround yourself with, right? And so, that coaching staff that we had were some of the best at their positions, right? So now that KB is OC at Arkansas, right? Lebby's OC at Oklahoma. I don't know if he's got the right guys around him. I don't know, right? Only time will tell. But I mean, they've done a great job, and up to this point, with just being the first year with Lebby in Arkansas, and then Kendall doing what he's doing at Arkansas, and the guys at North Texas. It takes time, right? And but yeah, I had no doubt in my mind that they were going to be coaching at the highest level in college football.
Seth, have you been able to watch Tennessee much? And if so, how familiar did that offense look?
Brings back some memories. It brings back some good memories. I mean, just flinging it around and letting those guys work vertically. Obviously, they've done a great job of running the ball. That's a big compliment to that offense, and spreading them out, making the defense decide one way or the other. I mean, whenever I'm in the backfield, when our film rooms, we're looking at, hey, the defense is always going to be wrong. So whatever play we call, we have 2 options. We're either going to hand it off or we're going to throw it. And you're either going to commit one or the other. You either die by the pass or you die by the run. So, it's cool to see that it's still being very successful. It's still being used and implemented at a high level. And obviously the
the numbers kind of speak for themselves.
Did you by any chance read the article in theathletic.com on Tennessee's offense and what Heupel has done and how his time with Levy in tracing it back to the Art Briles scheme or offense?
No, I haven't.
I tell you what I'll do. It's a pay site, but I'll try to see if I can copy and paste it and get it to you. It's very complimentary of the foundation of what was going on when you were there and before you were there at Baylor, and what maybe they've done a little bit to tweak just a little bit with the Tennessee offense. So when you did no huddle, so you knew before the snap, this corner's dead meat, or we're going to get 7 yards with whoever it is up the gut.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that was our game plan, right? We would always tax the best player on the field, right? You kind of think that's kind of counterproductive. But if you think about it psychologically, you attack the best player. You take if he's not, making plays, he's going to get frustrated, right? That's kind of the head of the defense. You take the head off, well, it's going to fall apart. I mean, of course, they're going to make plays, right? That's just part of it. But get up to the line of scrimmage and then getting the play from the sideline and being able to execute. That's the biggest thing, right? Even if it's a 3-yard run, right, or a 4-yard pass. I mean, each of those passes or runs can break for 70, 80 based off the type of offense because we're wearing down the defense, right? We wear them down. Mm-hmm. They get into their base defense. They don't really have a chance to get their blitz set in, right, unless it's a predetermined, the defense based off their scheme. If they're going to blitz after the first down, then potentially, right? But once you start wearing down that defense, you get them into that normal look, their base look, you already know what they're going to show. And so you have that game plan going in, and that's what you execute throughout practice, and that's what you're going to get. And so, it's just up to just the team to execute and make those plays.
Did you ever try to pick on the best team's best player on the other side, and after a few plays you said, I think we probably don't need to do that anymore?
No, because it's a chess match, right? Yep. It's a chess game, and like I said, they're going to make plays, right? That's why they're the best player on the field. They're going to make a play or two every once in a while, but I made sure that they made more wrong plays than right plays.
Seth, great stuff and insight with what you're doing as an analyst, and thanks for your time today, and we'll see what happens tomorrow night. Adrian Martinez seems to have reinvigorated and been rejuiced, but then last week he got back into the turnover mode. What have you seen from him?
I haven't watched a whole lot of him, to be honest, but I mean, he's a competitor, right? Hey, he can sling the ball down the field. Now he may put the ball into danger, right? It's kind of what you've seen and what you kind of mentioned. And so, with our defensive backs and the way that they're playing this year, I think they're at an all-time confidence high right now. Having 5 interceptions 2 weeks ago, having I think three last week, and it's just so they're building off that. They're growing, and they're going to put a lot of pressure on Martinez whenever he's slinging the ball around.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate your time, Seth. Seth Russell, former Baylor quarterback, the 2015 team, and I saw this on the chat room. Baylor finished that year 10-3. My goodness, they were at one point number 2 in the country. They played Iowa State and won, 45-27. They went to Kansas State and won. They were number 4 in the country. Not sure exactly. Maybe somebody had a 1-2 or a 1-4, whatever. They got as high as number 2. They were 4, 5, 3, 2. All the numbers except 1. Then they lost to Oklahoma.
That's when he got hurt, right?
Yep. He got hurt, I think, against Iowa State. That's when he got hurt against Iowa State. Then Baylor won. Kansas State. Stidham came in and did pretty well. They lost to Oklahoma. They won at Oklahoma State. I believe Stidham was a part of that, too. And then Chris Johnson came in that game, but then fell to TCU. That was when Johnston had a couple of fumbles. They were up 14-0 in double overtime. They always lose to TCU. They always lose to TCU.
Yeah.
And then Texas with Lynx Hawthorne playing quarterback. And, of course, Johnson got knocked out of that game early, and they ended up having to pound the ball, which led to what they did in Mauled, North Carolina, with the Wildcat and Johnny Jefferson.
I was doing sideline for Sports Radio USA in that game you're talking about with Lynx Hawthorne. And forgive me if I get a little frog in my throat here. I can't get rid of it. But they called down to the sideline and said, Paul, what's going on at quarterback? And I said, Lynx Hawthorne is going to go in. And then on the broadcast, there was like 10 seconds of silence. And they said, well, what numbers do you have for him at quarterback? And I said, none.
No.
I had nothing. And they're like, so he hasn't played quarterback at all? I said, no, he's a wide receiver. They're like, so he's not a wide receiver that has played? I was like, no, like this is new.
Yeah, he might have been a quarterback when he was in high school. His dad was a coach, as we remember when we had Lynx on a couple of different times. But they did beat North Carolina to close out the year. So when we come back, Sam Bradshaw, he gets to take the X's and O's and all the film of whatever he watches, the tendencies and analytics and all of that, and put it all into a big thing of gumbo and come back with his thoughts about what happens, what needs to happen, how each team will attack each other. Baylor and Kansas State. Sam Bradshaw next on 365 Sports.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Collision Ford. It's that time of year. It's football season. And BK Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football teams in Texas, right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, led by our leading rusher, the F-150, 45 years in a row. Lock in your best price and rate today by custom ordering your new F-150 at BK Ford. Simple, easy, trusted. Experience better at Bird Collision Ford.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneerboys.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Howdy, Chet Garner here, professional guide, searching for bears in the wild. But not just any bears, oh no, a particular kind. With hundreds of thousands roaming freely in the wild, yet still hard to spot unless you know the signs. There they are, Baylor bears. If you're a bear enthusiast or even a bear yourself, join me and let's find some bears in the wild.
Join the expedition at baylor.edu/alumni.
Looking for a great job with great pay and awesome benefits? Genco FCU is hiring. As a longtime Waco employer, Genco focuses on what matters most in our employees' lives, like pay incentives, bonuses, benefits, 401k plans, paid time off, advancement opportunities, medical, prescription, dental, and vision insurance, as well as short and long-term disability. Come join our incredible team today and make Genco your career that will work for you. Apply at gencofcu.org or at any branch location.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Sam Bradshaw of Sikkim365.com.
We will hear from Sam Bradshaw, who every week before a game, he will break down the tendencies and also what one team or other will need to do to attack the other team. It's fantastic stuff. It's got videos involved and images and much more, and he does a great job with that. He'll join us here momentarily. By the way, we're sorry about the little bit of the corrupted file. Some of you thought it may have been an Amber Alert, but it wasn't. It was just a bizarre thing that occurred. And so glad we got all that fixed up, and we're back and rocking thanks to Seth Russell. Now, thanks to Sam Bradshaw with us on 365 Sports. Sam, who has the better running game? Deuce Vaughn, Adrian Martinez, Kansas State, or Baylor?
Thanks for having me on. And honestly, both teams are running at an extremely good clip. Better depending on how you define it. If you're talking about set handoffs without having to involve the option game, probably Baylor. In terms of being able to throw the quarterback run at you and really stress the defense laterally with a lot of different schemes, you're probably talking Kansas State. They both run it very well, but they do it very differently. Baylor's built off that wide zone and a few change-ups based off of that, and they very much do what they do. Kansas State will throw guard tackle counter, guard tight end counter. They'll run A-gap power. They'll run quarterback read to the inside, quarterback read to the outside. They'll run start. They'll run everything you can think of, and they'll do zone scheme. It's a very multiple attack, and it's one of those teams that throws so much at you, it really stresses your run fits, because if you get out of your gap, Martinez and Vaughn and some of their other guys, even their receivers who they get on those fly sweeps, they can break the distance. They got a whole lot of guys that can break the distance. I think they're top 5 in the country in terms of percentage of plays that go for like 40 plus, 50 plus. I forget the exact statistics, but anytime you're in that company, you better watch out. They can flip a game in a hurry.
Sam, their passing game when they have to go to it, and unless Will Howard's in, and that completely changes it. But with Adrian Martinez, it seems to be there's not anything really intermediate. It's kind of a short pass to Deuce Vaughn or a wide receiver screen, or it is let's go for the whole thing. What do you think about their passing game and how Baylor can make sure they attack that the right way, because they are going to be selling out to stop the run most of the night?
Well, you really have to play into the tendencies of each quarterback. In my opinion, I think Howard's probably a better deep ball thrower than Martinez, but he's also not quite as sudden of a runner. So little things you see on film, whether this guy likes to roll a certain way or this guy can be impacted more by certain types of pressure, that's definitely going to play in. But as far as their scheme-wise, their passing attack is outstanding. I mean, I know that Kansas State and where Kleiman was before North Dakota State get a reputation for ground and pound, and they certainly can run the ball. But that's a very developed pro-style passing game that's extremely diverse. I mean, they went into Norman in 2020, and they used their empty set to absolutely shred the Sooners and knock them off. This is a team that's known for running the ball, but they can do spread scheme with some of the best of them.
Sam, what jumped out off the page at you or jumped off the screen for you when looking back at that Oklahoma contest?
Several things. Pass defense, for the most part, was good. Other than a play where both the corner and the star went with a wheel route and nobody went with the outside receiver going deep, you really didn't give up much in the way of passing game, at least not deep. I mean, your run defense struggled because when you count the times that the receivers were in the backfield taking the handoff as if they were a running back, you didn't really stop the run all that effectively. And I know they had the flu, and they were trying to do it with limited bodies, which is a bad combination against a good running team like Oklahoma. But they're going to have to do better than that getting off blocks against Kansas State, because they'll probably have more guys in the box because Kansas State will probably have more blockers than they're used to. But this is a team that for most of the year has tried to fight shorthanded against the run. And so they may not completely load up against the run. I mean, they'll definitely be trying to take it away, but in terms of resources, they may very well say, we don't think you can block us all game, and we don't want to give you those big plays you thrive on.
You know, you said that they played pretty well against the pass. Does that mean this team is growing up? Is that where the turnovers are coming from?
I think to a certain extent, you know, because on a couple of those interceptions, you had really good coverage. Another one, you had a batted pass at the line do some of your work for you. But, you know, they're getting better. I mean, you know, teams improve as the year goes on, and it's not just Baylor. I mean, you look at Oklahoma's defense, they're still not a quote-unquote good unit, but Oklahoma, you look at that tape against TCU, they gave up like half the field 4 or 5 times off of mental blunders they're not making now. Now, don't get me wrong, they're still making mistakes, but the rate at which they're doing it is going down. So, I mean, you're going to see teams improve as the year goes on, and Baylor's secondary has definitely seen that. You look at where they were against BYU, against West Virginia, and some of those other early games, and Oklahoma State, you know, and the struggles they had with Braden Johnson, and you look what they've been able to do since then. It's definitely been several steps forward.
Gosh, man, that West Virginia game, man, that just does not.
Yeah. It's one of those, you look back at it later on, it would almost be like TCU last year, except they had a chance to kind of get back from that because they were playing so well most of the year. But, yeah, that was – God, if they
Baylor still got a chance to get back from it.
Yeah, they do.
Still got a chance.
How dangerous, how hard would it be for defensive coordinators to game plan for a healthy – Baylor running backfield that we have not seen at all this year? Obviously, Sam, terrific performance from Squirrel Williams. Reese gets a much-needed break after 2 career days and tons of carries. And, man, Quaylon Jones just seems to be getting better and better.
I think it offers a lot of different looks because you've seen that guys that came in as running back 3 and running back 4 on your roster have carried the load for most of the season. And, you know, Reese has been a reliable running back and a decent receiver, but Quaylon Jones has been an incredible pass protector. And as well as that, he's been very effective in the passing game and been kind of a big change of pace back. And we all seen what Squirrel's been able to do as a receiver and as a runner. But apparently Tate McWilliams was the guy that everybody thought would be best in the passing game. And he's probably their best combination of quickness, size, and speed of the group. You know, so it would definitely change some of the subtle ways in terms of how they game plan for you. And, you know, you're just glad as a Baylor partisan, you're glad that they've never had a situation where they really only had one guy to rely on, because that's where you get dangerous.
Sam, what would this offense be like if everyone was healthy at once, which has not happened through 9 games this year?
It'd be pretty good. You know, over the last few games, they've been averaging over 40 yards a drive, scoring on almost half of their possessions, doing well in the red zone. They've been producing at a very high clip, and you can really say that for most of the year outside of the first half at BYU, where they really stopped themselves with a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes, like a 7-man protection letting a nose tackle through, or a quarterback rolling the wrong way, things that are fully within your control. You know, ever since then, they've been producing at a very high clip, and I don't foresee it stopping. They have a couple really good defenses to end the year. Kansas State's one of them, and it's probably going to be slower than it's been over the last month, but they're still going to produce. I'd be very surprised if anybody can really shut them down that's on their schedule currently.
You know, I brought this up to Seth Russell that Baylor actually used to go for it on 4th down more often when Brazos was the head coach in 15 and before that. Would you have the cojones to be able to do what they did on 4th and 1 from their own 29 and a half?
I don't know if I would. But at the same time, they're in practice. They know what they see on film, and they know that they trust their offensive line. And it also helps that you're facing an Oklahoma team that was not exactly stellar against the run most of the year. That also probably played into the calculus a little bit. Somehow I don't think they'd be doing that if it was Georgia.
So, Sam, what does this boil down to you? When you look at just directly like this is what this all kind of hinges on. Is it complementary football? Is it a particular matchup? What's kind of the tipping point in your eyes?
Well, this one's going to be interesting because you've got to be able to stop their running game. You've got to be able to keep Martinez in the pocket. You got to be able to get pressure, but you also got to make sure that you're not just giving zone coverage where they dump it off to Deuce Vaughn 10 times for 150 yards. Last year they played with a lot of dime coverage where they'd take Dylan Doyle off the field, leave Terrell Bernard in, and replace Doyle with Lorando Johnson as a second star. And that allowed them to play man coverage across the board. And then their front four were able to do a lot of damage in terms of limiting the run, getting some pressure. But you were also dealing with a Skylar Thompson who had been a little hobbled that year and wasn't nearly the dual threat that Martinez is. And you were dealing with a Baylor back end where you had JT Woods and Jerry McVay to clean things up. And while the guys on the back end have been playing better recently, I don't know if they're up for that same task. And I also don't know if that strategy would be as sound against Martinez and Howard, fully healthy, fully mobile, fully able to break you down in the open field. It'll be interesting to see what they come out with in terms of strategy. But I think Baylor has the pieces to do this effectively. It's really going to come down to how well does that defensive line play. If the defensive line can play shorthanded against the run, whatever formation that happens to be, and give you extra bodies in coverage, you can do a lot to limit what Kansas State's doing schematically. I think they'll have to mix in some man coverage and get some matchup wins one-on-one there. I think if you sit back there and just sit in zone, they're going to be able to give him time. He's going to be able to buy some time, and they're going to scheme guys open, like Cade Warner against Texas. Texas sat in cover 2 in the second half, and they showed a smash route to each side of the field where it's a corner, and then the outside receivers running a hitch. Warner pauses on the hitch for just like a split second, then breaks to the middle of the field, nobody home, splits the zone perfectly. That's the kind of thing they're going to do to you if you just sit in zone all game. So you're definitely going to have to mix it up.
I'm telling you, I thought, Warner has really been impressive. And they have Knowles, who Texas shut him down in the return game last week. I mean, shut him down. He can break one. He had a 75-yard run against Baylor 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Brooks has a punt return. Somebody else has a punt return. How critical is Isaac Power for some rocket launcher punts, and also Noah Rauschenberg with his streak right now of 16 consecutive touchbacks?
Rauschenberg's ability to take the kick return game out of the equation is something that Baylor needs to lean on heavily, and probably they beat Oklahoma State if they do that then. That is such a weapon where you take Knowles out of it completely. And then Isaac Power against Brooks is the matchup that's a little tougher because it's easier to be more consistent with a good long kickoff guy than it is a punt guy because you're not dealing with a rush. You're not dealing with different spots on the field. You're not dealing with the play clock winding down for them to snap it to you. You're not dealing with those variables. But that's absolutely critical. K-State is an absolutely phenomenal return team. And those receivers, Knowles, Brooks, and then Warner, they've been playing for a few years, and they've been very good. And Warner's really impressing me skill-wise because his time speed out of high school, whether it was the 40, whether it was the 100-meter, was not anything that would scare you as a receiver. But the guy is just beating people just skill-wise, and it's impressive.
Sam, thank you very much. We appreciate your time. Sam Bradshaw, Sikkim365.com. Great to have him every Friday at 5:30. And breaking down the game, Baylor and Kansas State, and sometimes other games as well that we bring up in the tendencies and how you attack each other, depending on who you are. Coming up next, Paul Catalina's Top 5.
During Ram Power Days at Allen Samuels, our great selection of new cars and trucks come with amazing deals and competitive financing that makes you ask, why shop anywhere else? The new 2022 Ram trucks are designed to be durable, functional, and stylish. These legendary, award-winning trucks give you that first-class feel. Luxurious leather trim seating options, exceptional legroom and storage, plus surround view camera options you'd expect from a premium truck. Come see our selection today or browse online at AllenSamuelsDCJ.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears!
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Top 5 storylines for the weekend. Number 5. Is Oklahoma State any healthier? Because if not, I mean, we don't really know what's going on with them and, you know, who's going to play and where and when. And, you know, it's not just Spencer Sanders. That's the biggest cog in the machine, but it's just everywhere. The rash of injuries that they have suffered is taking a team that was supposed to contend for the Big 12 title and turn them into we don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the year. So I wonder, are they any healthier this week? If not, Iowa State could inch closer to bowl eligibility, even on the road in Stillwater, which is something they haven't been able to do. And that offense has been pretty bad until the fourth quarter last week. But even still, if Oklahoma State isn't healthy, Iowa State's chances just skyrocket in this game.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of injuries. And like you said, Oklahoma State's pretty banged up right now. So, I don't trust Iowa State's offense at all. that's their biggest bugaboo by far. Their defense is great, but yeah, I mean, are they? I don't know. I mean, none of us know. Mike Gundy's keeping all that close to the chest. You listen to his press conferences, and he's not revealing anything about anybody, much less Spencer Sanders. So anybody's guess is as good as it's going to get until we see them actually take the field.
Yeah,
But
my guess is if they were healthy, he'd say yes.
Probably.
Because it doesn't benefit you at all to be like, oh, no, and then, oh, look, he's there. Well, if he's healthy, they're going to prepare for him anyway. I mean,
His last game that he was the Texas game, Sanders? Did he gut that out?
Yeah, he gutted the Texas game out, yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I mean, this conference, think about the starting quarterbacks who have been hurt.
Yeah.
Some of them, like the backup quarterbacks, have been hurt.
Yep. Number 4, this one's for you, Garrett. Does LSU stay focused?
Absolutely.
They're a much better team than Arkansas right now, especially. But all their dreams came through on last Saturday night, and Arkansas, this is it's a rivalry game in so many ways. It's not LSU's number one rival, but it might be Arkansas's. And so I don't know if that's them or A&M, but it's up there for Arkansas. So I'm sure Arkansas would love to, come up and play. And the only reason I even would bring this up is Arkansas's got KJ Jefferson, who's a quarterback who's good enough to make things happen in those crunch moments. So if LSU kind of thinks that they're big and bad because they beat Alabama this week, Arkansas is the kind of team that can jump up and surprise you. But I'm pretty sure that Brian Kelly will have them focused. It's just that's my only question about that game at all.
I mean, if it's me, I think that they're going to come in with a sound mindset. I think Brian Kelly made it clear if you listen to him after the game that this is one of those situations where it's a 24-hour window here and get on to the next beat. But I'm not worried about KJ Jefferson. I think LSU is the better roster. They're the better team. And I think that right now they see that the SEC championship is really theirs to muck up and not get there. So I think they have their eyes on getting there, and I'm not worried about this weekend.
Notice how Garrett's become confident as LSU starts
his
to
whole
win.
life. His whole life. Listen, I bet you things are better at home. Yeah,
it is. Everything turns. It took a turn.
Kids are giving him less crap and all these things. Yeah, I think so. Number 3, can Scott Satterfield continue his rise from the dead? Because he was absolutely out the door after that Boston College loss. There was no way most people thought he's coming back. They've rattled off 4 straight wins since then. Now, look, they've got the toughest part of their schedule back to back to back coming up, starting with Clemson this week, who just came off a very, very, very embarrassing loss. So maybe you don't want to be Louisville, or maybe you do. But he was, chief on the I'm going to get fired, probably going to get fired, hot seat, whatever you want to say list. And now he's kind of rolling along here.
Yeah, and it's just, what are they, 6-3?
Yeah, they're 6-3.
You had him, where was he behind Scott Frost in the hot meter?
He was number 2 or 3 almost the whole time. Yeah. I mean, mostly because the fans had completely turned on him, but now they're winning. A friend of mine that I've made through the show, Chad Haynes, messages me all the time. Chad's he should have a Louisville museum with all the memorabilia he has. But he texted me, he's like, big win for Louisville last week. He said, yeah, you guys might be stuck with that coach you don't like for a little bit longer. Because what are you going to say if he, say he finishes the season 8-4? Can't let him go. He'd have huge wins in that as well, finishing 8-4. But they have 3 tough games ahead of him, starting with Clemson this week. But it would be amazing if he somehow came back from that.
Yeah, it's really impressive what they've been able to do. It's more of what was expected, but I don't know kind of what the gauge is there. You'd have a better insight on it based on your friend that you're talking about and all of that. But yeah, it's a lot different than it was several weeks back. I mean, they've been on a winning streak for an entire month now, so this is as cool as it's probably been in quite some time, and good for Satterfield and good for the Cardinals. And as you mentioned, a big stretch upcoming that if they go 2-1 or 3-0, I mean, gosh, we'll go from, whatever that hot seat actually was to lifting him up on people's shoulders probably, because that'd be quite a turnaround. So, yeah, great job by them, and they're bowl eligible, so he's not going anywhere, even if they were to go 0-3, I wouldn't think, because, again, they're going to the postseason, so great job by him.
Clemson, North Carolina State, Kentucky, their last three.
Yeah, I think it probably depends on the style of that 0-3. If they get blown out, then maybe.
True.
But yeah, if he goes 1-2 and they're 7-5, this is a team that lost to Boston College, who is moribund right now.
They lost to Syracuse badly to open up. Syracuse obviously better than anyone thought. Florida State beat them in a close one.
Yeah,
the Noles have done that.
Yeah, so that's how they win, unless they're playing Miami or Boston College. But I think it would be remarkable if he managed to come back out of that. Number 2, will Lane beat Saban? There's a very elite fraternity of former Saban assistants who've beaten him. It's 2 guys.
Kirby and Jimbo.
That's it. So he could be the third one who does it, but we all picked Alabama for a reason. Alabama's a pretty stout favorite in this game. And, maybe not this year, but you never know. I mean, the tide might be reeling, but I've never seen a Nick Saban team reel.
They're just missing something, man. It might be just brains, football IQ, talent in certain places, even though they have all the 5 stars.
Yeah, if they were in the Wizard of Oz,
what do you think they're missing, Craig?
They'd be the Scarecrow.
Besides more wins.
I don't know exactly. I think that they're missing. Well, I guess they're missing an actual offense that is good. They're missing the schemes that they got from guys like Steve Sarkisian previously versus Bill O'Brien. I think that it's the Bill O'Brien factor more than probably anything else. I also think that maybe some of the skill talent isn't quite as sharp as it has been in years past, but they're not very diverse. They're not. Somebody that I think strikes a lot of fear outside of just their base talent in opposing coaches when breaking them down. So I think that's it as much as anything. I think their offense is pretty mundane. That's my opinion, though.
I agree. Gibbs gave him something, but the wide receivers have never really – no one's just taken up that next step. And Bryce Young is running for his life every time he takes a snap.
Yeah, and number 1, can TCU stay in the CFP? Only one way to do it, and that's beat Texas. This is the most intriguing and the most difficult game to wrap my head around of the week when it comes to how it's going to go, based on the 2 teams seem to be kind of opposite in the way that they play games. But yeah, this is the one, like TCU right here. They have it in front of them. Just like every other team in the Big 12 went out and you're in, TCU has went out and, add the Big 12 title game, went out all the way, and you are in the CFP, which is a program-changing season. That's what they're looking at right now at TCU.
I mean, I get why we look ahead to the CFP, but they've never won an outright Big 12 title.
No, exactly.
So they need to do that first. They shared it with Baylor in a year that Baylor beat them, which I think is just silly, but I understand how that all works and whatnot. But, I mean – we know the answer to the question. The answer is yes, as long as they just keep winning. We know that the moment they lose a game, if they lose a game, they're done and have no chance. That's just the reality of it. And so, yeah, they can, but, it's going to be a lot easier if they can get past this test this weekend. And even still, it's I think going to be a Baylor team that's going to be, potentially, if they win again this weekend, just chock full of confidence. But who knows? Maybe K-State walks into Waco and pulls the upset, and Baylor's a little dinged after that. But Baylor-TCU's really got the makings of being a monster game for both programs next week if both can handle their business. But that's going to, I don't have full faith that either one of those results is going to happen tomorrow. I think both those games are pretty daggum close coin flip type of games, so I can't wait to see how those shake out.
I know that we've talked – go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, Craig. You gotta do that one other thing first. But this is going to be a question week to week, for them and their fans, because you can taste it right now, but there's still 4 games that they have to win to do it.
When you start to try to taste what's at the end of the buffet before you get your table, your plate, whatever, and your fork and knife, you're not going to get there. They have been it's been a fantastic story. Jeff Ward, if Texas puts 50 points up in the first half against TCU, is that enough to be collapse-proof?
You'd hope so.
51 is the key.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Thanks to Barry Moore for saying thanks for the show. Great go. Cheers from Melbourne, Australia. Thank you very much. And all of you who mention your service for our country, to our country, for us, we appreciate you on this Veterans Day. Garrett Ross, Emery Winter, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, the CW channel tonight, 10:30. Sports tonight. Emery Winter putting that together. Back tomorrow, our pregame Baylor K-State at 4 here from the studio on Elm. This is 365 Sports, and I'm David Smoak. Thank you. Good night. Have a great weekend.